the force of
Only
buoyancy.
when it's talking
but
about
you keep
buoyancy.
on ignoring that, don't you?
No,
I'm
addressing it. That's talking about when it's buoyant.
You don't like that bit.
Rumpus, listen.
No, it's talking about neutral buoyancy when those two forces are equal.
No, it's not.
Look, like that bit of the sentence.
Rumpus, look. I'll put it on screen right now. This is what we should have been doing in the Hangout. Look, it says the buoyancy offsets the force of gravity.
Yes,
not the neutral buoyancy. The buoyancy. I'm not on about when it's buoyant. I'm on about when it's neutrally buoyant.
You just don't understand English, do you? Jesus Christ.
No, that's not talking about when it's neutral. That's talking about when it's buoyant.
You are so stupid. What that's saying is that the buoyancy force, that's what that word means. It's saying the buoyancy
That's not what it says. What it says is
I know, it's okay, so it's not been written perfectly. That's what it's trying to say.
Right, but I'm on about when it's neutrally buoyant.
In the case of neutral buoyancy, the buoyancy force offsets the gravity, the force of gravity.
That's not what it's... The word neutral's not there, though, is it?
No, because of the title, the neutral... It's giving you the top. This is the neutral buoyancy condition, you idiot.
But there is no buoyancy when it's neutral. So why is it talking about? Why is it not talking about neutral buoyancy?
The buoyancy force it's talking about there.
There isn't one when it's neutral.
This is the paragraph about neutral buoyancy, and it's describing what the buoyancy force is in the case of.
But there isn't one when it's neutral.
In the neutral buoyancy case, the buoyancy force equals the force of gravity.
No,
that's the condition.
No,
yes, it is.
In Anthony. Neutral buoyancy,
you can't read English.
Density
You're goddamn
equal to
stupid.
the density in which it's immersed. It doesn't talk about gravity.
And then it describes in more detail what.
No,
this means.
Then it describes buoyancy.
No, it doesn't, Anthony. God, look, go and look at somewhere else.
It says the buoyancy. And I'm not asking about the buoyancy. I'm asking about the neutral buoyancy.
Yes, but there's a buoyancy force. There are two forces.
No, there's not. There's not. There's no
there
force
are,
involved.
Anthony. There
it
are.
says in the previous sentence. Look,
stupid.
It says the density of the egg is equal to the density of the liquid. That's all.
And why do you think it's talking about forces, Anthony, if they're not relevant?
It's not talking about forces.
It is. It says offsets the force of gravity. It can only do that with enough force.
It's talking about density. Don't you understand, Rumpus? Look, density, not forces.
Yes,
density.
In my formula, if you look at my page, that equation, I've got density in there. It's a
but you've also got V and G that are not in.
Yes, that's the crucial thing. That's what turns it into a force. Density
no, see, that's the bit I'm not letting you do.
Yeah, but you're a moron. You don't understand physics. You don't understand maths. You're a moron.
Rumpus. That's my point.
You don't understand.
You're adding stuff like Harwin adds. It's bullshit.
No, you don't understand because
I do understand definitions. It's you that's trying to make them into something.
You don't understand. It's a tug of war. You utter moron.
No, it's not a tug of war. It's a neutrally buoyant position where there is no tugging.
The net force is zero. There are two.
No, there's no net force.
And they're the
density of the egg relative to the density of the medium. There are no forces when it's neutrally buoyant.
When there are two equal forces, then you have.
No, that's not what it says.
That is what it's trying to say.
Equal to the medium.
You're misreading it.
I'm not.
You are. You're a moron. You can't read
the physical
English.
body's average density is equal to the medium.
It's referring to the buoyancy force.
No, there's no force. It says density.
There is a force. Look, what do you mean? It says buoyancy. That's referring. Click on that.
It doesn't say force. It says density.
No, Anthony. The
yes,
is meant
on screen right now. Density.
That is a force. You utter moron.
No, it's density.
Right, go
force is not density.
Look up buoyancy, Anthony. Go and look up the definition of buoyancy there, and you will see force. Go on.
Force.
I dare you. Go and look up buoyancy.
Mass, isn't it?
Force has no weight or mass.
F equals ma.
Look, Anthony, go into Wikipedia, type in buoyancy, and you'll say, in physics, buoyancy or upthrust is an upward force, you utter moron!
Rumpus, in maths, force is described as F equals ma, correct?
Look up buoyancy, Anthony. Go.
It's going to be a really good show, so Rumpus really needs to obfuscate this, so he's getting really, really, really angry about it. So very, very amusing. Clearly. Desperately needs this for his religious assertions.
Look up the word buoyancy, Anthony.
There's only a density.
The value of that net force is zero. The null set, nothing, nada. So it's still nothing. It's not a force.
Correct. Because it's only a force if you got an accelerated mass.
Look at my screen, Anthony. This is the Wikipedia page on buoyancy. In physics, buoyancy or
I'm not about buoyancy. I'm on about neutral buoyancy.
You were looking at the definition of buoyancy.
Again, so I'll point out for the audience. Gets really angry every time he does this. He needs it to be a definition that includes some sort of movement for gravity to be real, and it doesn't. So every time Anthony talks about neutral buoyancy, he shifts the goalposts and moves it over to buoyancy, so he's got some sort of movement. Very amusing, gets really angry, eats his mic. It's going to be a really good show.
fucking moron.
I'm not on about the buoyancy.
You
I'm on about the
said that
neutral
buoyancy.
rumpus.
You said you were reading it correctly, and I told you that word buoyancy was a force, and you said it wasn't.
I'm not interested in the buoyancy. I'm interested when it's not doing anything.
Go and look up the definition of buoyancy, and you'll see here, as I've got screen shared now in physics, buoyancy or upthrust is an upward force exerted by a fluid that opposes the weight of an immersed object. You fucking.
But neutral means there's no upthrust.
Correct.
Zero means no upthrust.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below the video. Most importantly though, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we're joined by a whole bunch of people because we've been debating away during the break, so I'll introduce them as the conversation is definitely in full swing, and then I'll take myself off mute so you can hear what's been going on. I'll even give you a brief summary of the conversation to now. So we're joined by Earth Flattener, James or Jimbo, Jose, Pete or P-Mars, otherwise in the Pete account, P-Mars, Physics Warrior, Rampaging Rumpus, Sleeping Warrior, The Plain Truth, and myself. So in the break, if you want to check out Nathan Oakley channel, just Nathan Oakley, which is my second channel, has the in-between bits between these debates. You can hear the conversation between Anthony and Rampaging Rumpus. Now, you join us with Rampaging Rumpus extremely triggered. He desperately needs to obfuscate the point that Anthony's making and bring it on to buoyancy, where Anthony is talking about neutral buoyancy because he needs to apply a force. So every time this happens, we get a bit of swearing, we get a lot of angry rumpus, but it's going to be a fantastic show. So I'm going to take myself off mute in the hangout and say a massive warm welcome to all of the people on the panel. How are you all doing, guys? Good to have you all.
Can I just say, if you want to check out the uncut version after this on tomorrow's show, the Nathan Oakley channel, you want to listen to Rumpus getting wrecked.
I'm going to do a hangout about how the IQ test is racist today.
Racist?
At some point. Yeah. The IQ test is created by a bunch of eugenics people who are totally racist.
Well, questions used to be like, you know, they'd show two houses, one kind of well-kept Puritan and the other kind of shackle and run down, and kind of which is better. If you pick the picket fences little home that's all freshly painted, you have a higher IQ than someone who picked the shackle house.
Anthony must have an IQ of less than 100, I think, given the fact he doesn't understand two forces opposing one another, which result in a net force of zero. He has the understanding of a 13-year-old at physics. I mean, he needs to go back to school.
Nothing is nothing. Zero force is zero force.
I'm going back to school.
Understand the nature of no force. You can't say, like, there's a wall or a door, and I'm pushing on it with zero force, so it will never open.
So what would you call?
Force is no force.
What would you call what Rumpus wants to call net force? What would you call it?
He wants to set a force value of zero.
I'm asking
you. You understand that a tug of war?
Zero is not a number. It's a container. It's waiting for a number, a value.
You understand that a tug of war, there are two opposing forces.
Rumpus, will you please wait?
Oh, no,
I'll please wait?
I'll finish in 10 seconds.
We're talking
no,
about
I was asking a question.
Yeah, no, and I'm yourself.
Again, I'll just jump in here and say that Rumpus is giving a false equivalency. So when you have something in neutral buoyancy, there is no tug of war going on. The egg isn't being pulled and pushed simultaneously. It's just static, neutral, not doing anything. But Rumpus really needs there to be a tug of war in place, so there's lots of forces at play.
Jimbo, my question to you was, what would you call what Rumpus is calling net force? What would be your description of that
A lie.
event?
It's neutral buoyancy. It's what they call it. It's zero. There's no forces applied. Or if there are forces and pressures, they're applied equally in all directions.
Yeah, net force of zero.
That's
Exactly.
right. Zero is nothing. There's no force.
Opposing forces.
No
Do
force.
you understand? You've had two
It's
opposing
at a point
forces.
where
The
there's
net
nothing
force is
happening.
zero. Do you understand that?
Yeah, but you understand that F equals ma, right?
I
Force
understand that,
equals
Anthony. I understand
accelerating
better
mass.
than you can possibly imagine.
Yeah, but hang on,
Nothing
Rumpus,
is nothing.
Rumpus. Do we agree that F equals ma?
For a net force on an object, the mass will accelerate by the value of a on it with a net force. Net force. Not.
But the problem
a
is,
single
it
force.
doesn't mention forces or net forces in the definition for
The
neutral.
definition of, as I showed you, Anthony, go and look up the definition of buoyancy, and you'll see it's an upward force, and it mentions the force of
I'm not on about
gravity.
buoyancy.
That was time number 1, so I mentioned this in the break. So Rumpus desperately needs to talk about buoyancy when Anthony's defining neutral buoyancy. So that's count 1 on this live show. See how many times he does
Look
it.
up the definition of buoyancy.
That's count 2. So that's twice he's done it. We're talking about neutral buoyancy. Rumpus desperately needs to move these goalposts so there's some forces at play. So that's count 2 for Rumpus saying, let's not look at neutral buoyancy. Let's look at buoyancy so there's some forces at
Definition
play.
of buoyancy is a force.
We're not on about buoyancy.
Yes,
We're
we
on about
are
neutral
actually,
buoyancy.
because neutral buoyancy is a special sort of buoyancy.
I don't care. It's
Well, you're a
defined.
moron then.
It's defined.
You're a moron.
Words
No,
have
it's not. Then it
meanings,
goes
Rumpus.
into detail in the second sentence. It goes into detail explaining how buoyancy, and if you
This
look at the
doesn't
definition of
apply.
buoyancy, it says it's a force, and it also
We're
says
not
the
on about
force of
buoyancy,
gravity.
Rumpus.
You have
We're not on
two
about buoyancy.
opposing equal forces, and the net force is zero. That's why there's no acceleration. You
Well, that's
utter
talking about
moron.
buoyancy. We're not on about buoyancy.
We
We're on
are.
about
Neutral
neutral.
buoyancy is a special sort of buoyancy. You utter moron.
Doesn't mention anything about
You
forces.
utter moron. Why does it mention buoyancy there, Anthony? Why does it use the word buoyancy and force of gravity in that sentence? Go and look at the definition of buoyancy, and you will see that it talks about it being an upward force.
I'm not
And
interested
as
when
it
it's
offsets
buoyant.
the force of gravity.
I'm not
all-
interested about when it's buoyant, Rumpus. I'm interested
And
when
when
it's not
those two
moving.
things are equal, Anthony, is when you have
Yeah.
neutral buoyancy.
Right,
When
when it's
those
all
two
equal.
forces,
But
when
it
those
doesn't
two
mention-
forces are equal, you
But
have
no, it
neutral
doesn't
buoyancy.
mention forces. It mentions the density.
That, as I showed you in my equation, is the eventual result. You can reduce
No,
it to that.
in your
you
equation, you,
get
added
there-
two fields
get
that were
there
not
by
part of the
considering
definition.
forces.
You added volume and you added little g. Why
Because
did
the
you do
two
that?
because that's how you work out whether something's going to move or not. You
Not
work
by
out the
definition, it
forces on
isn't.
You can do it with
Anthony,
volumetric
you've never
masses.
done. Anthony, it's quite obvious you've never done a free body diagram. You've never worked out the forces on an object. You're educationally illiterate and a moron.
If
You've
your
never done
equation was
equations.
correct, Rumpus, it would match this wording, and the wording doesn't mention volume or little g. It
Doesn't
just
need
says
to, as I
average
showed you, the
density is
condition of my
equal to the
formula.
density of the medium.
In
That's
my
it.
formula, I showed
No,
you.
I don't care about your formula. It's not based on science or maths or
It's
physics.
absolutely, Anthony, you don't know
You've
what
added
science
volume.
is. You're a moron.
You've added little g for
You
no reason.
don't know what forces are. You don't know what
There are no
forces are
forces in neutral buoyancy.
because the forces cancel out, you utter moron.
There are no forces
There
in
are.
neutral
The
buoyancy.
way it says so in the definition of buoyancy, you utter moron. It
There
even
are no
There
mentions
you
it in
go.
the
forces.
That's
second.
count 4. So Rumpus substitutes neutral buoyancy for buoyancy yet again. Another goalpost shift. Anthony's trying to explain when we're in neutral buoyancy, when there are no forces, when they're all cancelled out, net effect 0. But Rumpus needs to talk about when there is an effect of something moving, buoyancy.
Correct.
No,
got it,
buoyancy is a
Nathan.
force. It's
Yeah.
about
Rumpus
buoyancy.
You're saying I can give you 0 apple pies and you can
Look up
go
the
up on
definition
that.
of
You're
buoyancy,
giving
Anthony.
value to
That's count 5. Look up the effect of buoyancy, Anthony. Look up buoyancy. Ignore neutral buoyancy and look up buoyancy.
This is a
Correct.
special case of buoyancy.
I'm not on about. Listen, Rumpus, can't you understand that
Can't
I'm
you
interested
understand
in when
there
it's
are two
not
forces
moving?
that cancel on that like a tug of war?
Rumpus, when something's not moving, right, does it satisfy this equation or not?
The net force will be 0, Anthony.
nothing is
It's not
nothing.
moving.
No
Does it-
apple pie.
Anthony,
No force.
you must be able to cope with this explanation. The
No.
net force, that equation you're showing
There isn't
there,
a net force if it's not moving.
Hold on, Anthony, listen to me, right?
Nothing is nothing.
Anthony, the net, that is talking about the net force on an object, but you can have two opposing forces that have value, but they cancel one another out. And it's
Yeah,
the
but that
net
means you haven't got a force though, Rumpus.
You moron.
Because if you
in a
had
tug
a
of
force, you'd be able
war,
to show it.
in a tug of war, you have two forces. They cancel one another
Yeah,
out.
and they're
on the
always
road.
moving. They're never perfect.
Well, okay, well, imagine they are perfect when they're
Yeah, but
absolutely
they're never perfect.
Yeah, well, imagine the case when we're talking about a case when they are
Imagine.
perfect.
So
We're
where are the
talking about a
strings tied to
theoretical
the egg
I'm
and the
trying to
water?
describe a real-world situation to you because you're stupid and you
Rumpus,
can't
in a
imagine
game of
the
tug of
case when
war-
they're equal.
In a game,
No one's tugging on the egg. There's no rope attached to the egg. No one's tugging it. It's
I
not in
can't
a
help
tug
it,
of
Anthony.
war.
If you're stupid and you can't imagine two things.
No, the egg is not in a tug of war. There's no ropes being pulled. The egg is just in neutral buoyancy, not moving.
There are two forces cancelling one another out, just like
so
a
you
tug
say,
of war.
but that's not the definition for neutral buoyancy, is it?
Look at the second sentence, Anthony.
No,
The
that's to do
measured
with when it's
force of
buoyant.
gravity.
We're not
Why
interested
would
in
it
when it's
mention-
buoyant. We're interested in when
This
it's
is a
not buoyant.
paragraph about neutral buoyancy, Anthony, you utter moron.
No, this is talking about when it's buoyant.
No, it's
It has
not.
a value
It
of
talks
0
about
when we're
neutral
talking about
buoyancy still.
neutral buoyancy. 0 is 0.
Whole
It's nothing.
paragraph
I give
about
you 0
neutral
apple
buoyancy.
pie. Are you going to pay me for it? I'll take money for nothing because that's what you're selling.
Rumpus.
You're selling
This
nothing,
second
no
sentence
force as
relates
force.
to when it's
It's
buoyant.
relevant to the neutral buoyancy case.
Rumpus, this relates to when it's buoyant. It
No,
doesn't
it
deal.
isn't. It's talking about the neutral buoyancy case.
No, it's not.
It
It's talking about
is.
the buoyancy.
This whole, Anthony, this whole page is about neutral buoyancy, you moron. The
No.
title of this page
This
is neutral
sentence here,
buoyancy.
Rumpus.
Stupid,
Let me read
stupid
it.
moron.
It says the buoyancy
Utter
offsets the
moron.
force of gravity that would otherwise cause the object to sink. Well, if
Yeah,
it's
when
not
the
sinking,
forces on it are 0. Net forces.
the forces on it are 0.
Net
There you go.
forces. Net
Well,
forces.
you're saying force though, Rumpus, and you're
Yeah, see
ignoring
the
it.
title there,
Only
Anthony? The
density.
title of this whole article is neutral buoyancy. That
Yeah,
point,
density.
and that
not
paragraph,
forces.
and that paragraph about the force of gravity, they wouldn't have mentioned it if it wasn't relevant, would they?
But
That,
they're
and they
not
mentioned
talking about
buoyancy,
in
which is a
neutral
force.
state. They're talking about when it's buoyant.
Buoyancy is a force. Force of gravity is a force. When they cancel out,
Neutral
you have
buoyancy
neutral
is not
buoyancy.
a force,
It's so
it's a
simple.
density.
A 12-year-old can understand. Is there anybody
No,
else on the panel
Rumpus.
who doesn't understand this?
Rumpus, it's not talking about.
Is Anthony the only person who doesn't understand that two forces can cancel one out? Come on. Is there anybody else
I
who
understand it, but
this?
that's not the
Nothing is
definition.
nothing. If you want to apply a value of 0 as a force, then you have no force.
Right, so you understand a
what
net
you're
force
doing.
is it? So
Right, so that's an agreement then. If you have 0, there is no force. It's all at 0. But you keep wanting to obfuscate it and say that, no, you've got different forces. You've got a tug of
James,
war going
you
on.
understand the two forces can cancel one another out and you end up with a net force of 0. Do you understand that concept? Do you understand that, Jimbo? Net force of 0?
Can I give you no apple pie and get you to pay me for it?
Well,
Can you
hold
fill
on.
your
Yeah,
tummy
well,
up
how about
on
answering
0
the question?
apple pie? Can you do
How about
anything
answering the
with
question?
0?
How about answering
Multiply
the question?
0 by 1.
How about
you
answering
get
my
0.
question? How about
I'm
answering my
saying nothing
question?
is
Jim,
nothing, and you're
Jim, how about
selling
answering my
nothing.
question rather than deflecting?
You're selling 0 force,
Right. How
and you're
about answering my
selling it as a
question,
force.
Jim?
Nothing force
Jim,
equals
Jim,
force.
Jim,
Balanced all
Jim,
around.
how about
You're
answering my
selling
question?
A fairy tale, a
Can you
unicorn.
answer my question, Jim, instead of
Hi,
deflecting?
Richard.
So
How
what's
you
your
doing?
Do
question?
you understand that two forces in opposite directions of equal magnitude will net to 0 if they're acting? So, for instance, if I was to push you on one side and Anthony was pushing on the side with equal force, you wouldn't move. You would not accelerate
But
in
the
any
thing is,
direction.
though,
Those
Because
forces
the net
pulling
force on you-
diagonally.
Yeah, no,
Don't
I'm saying
forget
they're
the point.
opposing one another. Jim, listen to me
No
carefully.
force is no force.
No,
No
let's
force.
take a tug of war. Okay, let's
0
take a
is
tug of war.
0. I'll give
Okay,
you 0
Jim,
chickens. How many eggs will they lay?
Jim, try
0
listening.
eggs.
Try listening. Tug of war,
Forever,
Jim.
how many eggs
Jim,
will 0 chickens lay?
Jim, try
0.
listening. Tug of
For how
war.
long
Imagine
will
a tug
0
of war,
force
Jim.
be 0
Jim,
force
Jim,
as
Jim,
long
try
as
listen.
it's
Imagine a tug
0?
of war.
Nothing is
Imagine a tug
nothing.
of war, Jim.
Rumpus,
Not
I'm going
a
to have to
chicken
kick you
that
out.
Jim, imagine a
Rumpus, you're not letting
Chicken
anybody else
egg in
speak,
the
so it's
water.
time for you to go.
Imagine a
It's
tug of
rope.
war,
There's no
Jim.
force.
Try imagining a.
Because we're not using imagination.
Imagine a
We're
tug
trying
of
to
war,
get down to science and actual
Can you see
reality.
the rope wouldn't
Not
move? If the,
imagination.
Cool.
There's too much of that.
can you imagine a tug of war if the two forces of the two teams
We've
are
heard
pulling
you say
equally
it.
hard?
We
And they
heard.
will have a net force.
We
of 0.
heard.
Well, he doesn't understand.
So
He
shut
hasn't
up.
said he heard.
We don't need to hear
Right.
you repeat it 15 more times.
Well, he won't
You
answer. He's
stupid,
dodging the
ignorant
answer,
little
isn't
man. We've heard it.
Dodging
So
the
stop
answer.
saying it.
Okay, but if he just doesn't dodge, no one have to ask it again.
Rumpus, you're claiming that there are two equal and opposing forces.
Yes.
that cancel
Oh,
out.
great. Well done. Well done.
Rumpus,
I
don't you
understand what you're
understand?
claiming.
Someone
Brilliant.
else is talking.
I understand it, what you're claiming, right? But it's not the definition. That's my
Yes.
point. In the definition, it doesn't talk about two opposing
It
forces.
does. That's that sentence you won't like. You don't like.
No, it doesn't talk about two opposing
It
forces.
does. It does. It talks about the buoyancy versus the force of gravity. That's what
No,
it's
it
talking
doesn't.
about.
It talks
It
about
does.
density being equal to the.
No, the next paragraph, the next sentence.
Why are you
Anthony-
interrupting me?
Well,
I'm
because you keep
showing you that
interrupting
it's
me.
wrong.
I'll tell the audience why he's interrupting you, because he desperately needs to have a force there. So he needs to talk about buoyancy, where there is forces are being applied. When we have neutral buoyancy, there is none, but he still needs there to be a force of gravity. So he introduces it by talking about buoyancy when you're talking about neutral buoyancy. He's done it 6 times. He'll keep doing it because that's his main obfuscation here. That's his main tactic, and I'll point it out every time. It's no worries, Rumpus. You can't sense the reality by just talking over me.
You're stupid and ignorant. I mean,
you see, that's his only reply. I point out that he's moving the goalposts, introducing a force where there is none. When Jimbo says there's no force, you can't give me no eggs from no chickens. He just obfuscates and talks over Jimbo. When Anthony points it out, you just go double down and say, no, you've still got forces. There's a tug of war going on with an egg, even though there's no ropes and there's no one pulling the egg.
You can't say there's forces, Rumpus, when there are no forces. Just because you say it doesn't make it true.
There are because you see, if you took away the water that in my diagram,
then the density of the egg would be greater than the density of the medium in which it's now in.
And then you'd find a force on it, wouldn't you?
No, but there wouldn't be a force. It doesn't mention force. It says
following the equation that I've got in my diagram.
He's done it again. Rumpus has done it again. Ignored it for the 7th time. So Anthony points out there's no force. 0. That's what we're getting. 0. And Rumpus says, so there's a force there then. No, Rumpus. You need there to be a force. That's why you're blurring the lines, moving the goalposts, and doing this.
Be a force there, so you can apply little g. Doesn't mean that there's force there.
That
it
water
says neutral density
away a force.
Neutral density. It says.
Anthony,
no forces.
Putting the water there does not magic away the force of gravity, as described in the second
water
paragraph.
There does make the medium in which the egg's suspended in become very similar.
It causes an opposing force.
It doesn't cause an opposing force.
In the second paragraph or second sentence.
What it
yes,
does
Anthony. Yes, Anthony.
Egg.
That's what the word buoyancy is.
Put water in,
it's
Rumpus,
a buoyancy.
The density of the
buoyancy
now gets
is a
similar
force,
to the density of the medium.
Rumpus is
buoyancy
again.
Is a force. Buoyancy
I've got
is
Simon
a force.
Dan. Oh, guys, hold on. We've got someone in the back chat. See if everyone ignores me.
I don't see him.
Simon Dan.
I removed him. A while back.
Oh, well done. Thank you.
Anthony, buoyancy is a force. Go and look at the definition. You're a moron.
I'm not on about buoyancy being a force. I'm on about neutral buoyancy.
Do you accept that buoyancy is a force, Anthony?
No, it isn't. Have you got any evidence for
with
neutral buoyancy being a force?
So, hold on, Anthony. So you're denying that buoyancy is a force?
No, I'm denying that neutral buoyancy is a force.
Okay, but do you accept that buoyancy is a force?
Well, it depends on which. Are you going to go with F equals MA?
No,
Anthony.
the buoyancy as defined.
I'm talking to Anthony. Shut up,
property of matter.
As defined
just a
in
different
the
way of moving the
as in that Wikipedia page you found, it told you that buoyancy was a force.
Yeah.
Right, great. So buoyancy is a force.
I'm not interested.
Right, yeah. I don't care what you're
Rumpus, can you shut up for a second, please?
You're not qualified.
You're not the only person here, Anthony.
Buoyancy
Anthony
is a force.
That's not you. That doesn't mean talk, Rumpus. If you talk over me again, I will kick you out. Right, Anthony.
Nathan, you're a moron. I mean, you're an utter ill-educated.
Right, shut up. You're just a dick. This is your only tactic when you've lost. This is your just pathetic tactic. Can't take turns because he's 3 years old. Got a religious belief in gravity. Has to introduce it when there's no forces around because gravity's always there. And when I try to talk to my own guests, Rumpus talks constantly as well because he's an asshole. A loser. Globe zealot. That's all you are. And talking constantly is your only tactic, Rumpus. It's absolutely pathetic. That's all you've got. It's your only bit of arsenal that you can use here. Because you're a loser. You're never going to win this argument. So rumpusing's your only last resort. So all you can do...
You don't understand any science at all.
That's all he's got. Ad hom. You don't understand. You don't understand. You don't understand that you don't need to assume R, Rumpus. You don't need to assume R, Rumpus, you complete moron. But you do it every time you come on here. There's people making memes about you being slapped around the face for using R when you don't need to presume it. But you're a moron. And you assume it because you've got a religious belief
all you've
in
got, Anthony, Nathan. I can show
the stuttering begins.
Objectively.
There's people making memes about you, pathetic twat. People making memes about you assuming R. Yeah? You admitted to it the other day. I got a little sound bite of it. You presuming R, Rumpus. So all you've got a religious belief. You've got a space religion. And every time it comes up, you're going to try and Rumpus. Gravity is needed for your space religion. And when we talk about no forces involved, you'll conjure one. You'll put it in as a net zero. You'll have no real force, just introduce it arbitrarily to conform with your sphere religion. Because that's all you've got. A sphere religion. And rumpusing when you lose points. Pathetic.
I've got evidence, science, everything you could ever possibly want.
Don't have any science. You've got absolutely no science whatsoever. Science doesn't back you.
A force or a net force, can you?
Yeah, I can.
No, you can't.
There's that high-pitched voice. Yeah, I can. Liar.
Anthony, if you go and do that kitchen experiment I suggested.
Right, Rumpus, the problem is that in your page, you've got net force Fn on object, right? You've got that graph, you've got the equation for neutral buoyancy underneath.
Yeah.
Can you see what it says? The condition when net force Fn on an object.
Yeah.
You've got, hang on, who's
That's
just
a row.
Right, so you've got P0 minus
That's row,
P.
it's row, it's density. That is a
He's getting to his point, so Rumpus is going to start rumpusing again. Rumpus, Anthony was talking.
Yeah, I was just helping him out with the notation.
You don't need to help him.
Okay.
I do. He doesn't understand.
No, shut up.
No, listen, Rumpus, listen, please, listen. You've got P0
row,
I see, this is where the devastating point comes. Anthony, you won't get to make your devastating point.
Okay, no, I'm happy for Anthony to make a point. I don't stop
Shut up,
Anthony
then.
making his point.
So you've got P0 minus P.
There he goes again. He just can't have it. He can't have it because it's
a
devastating.
Row, it's not P.
Yeah,
it
you might. You might get angry about it, Rumpus.
It doesn't matter.
Entertain my
point I'm
audience
making
with your
is that the
anger
bit
over this
you've got that
devastating
matches
point
the
of your
definition
religion.
is the bit in brackets, right? But then you've got V0G.
Yeah, and I
the
can show that.
V0G is not part for that is not
is,
part of the definition.
I can show you how
There he goes again. When Anthony gets to his devastating point that it's not needed in the equation, Rumpus starts rumpusing. You need to obfuscate this, don't you, disingenuous little twat?
You don't care about the
Yeah,
physics.
you need to censor this, don't you? You need to censor reality. You can't censor reality by talking over him, Rumpus.
Don't care about the
You can't censor reality by talking over Anthony.
Which
Until you let him talk,
said was a 4.
I'm going to keep this show going, Rumpus. Listen. Rumpus, listen. I'm going to keep this show going. Shut up. I'm going to keep it going. And until you let Anthony make this devastating point once without interruption, I'll just keep getting him to remake that point over and over again.
I'm happy for Anthony to make his point.
No, you're a 2-year-old.
Right, so be quiet
You're a
then.
2-year-old. You're like my kid. You
point,
don't
Anthony.
know when
You
to
think
shut
that
up.
You think that just this part of the
No
equation
worries.
is what's valid.
We'll keep
It's not.
doing it until you let Anthony make his uninterrupted point, and I'll point out every time you interrupt him that you must obfuscate
that means
it.
I get into it.
That you
Okay,
must.
okay, Nathan, I'll do it. If
Don't-
you let me have an
Don't do it. I want Anthony to reassert it 50 times
will
when
you
you're
let me
obfuscating
have
it
an
every time.
uninterrupted answer?
No, Anthony's going to make
I'm
his
not gonna
point,
have
then
an
we'll move
uninterrupted
on from there.
Sure.
You won't
Will
let him
you
make his
let
point,
me
you're
have an
obfuscating
uninterrupted
now.
answer, Nathan?
So let's shut Rumpus up. He's doing it to me. Thinks he's smart. So he's not only obfuscating Anthony's point, he's now trying to obfuscate me. You can't censor reality, Rumpus. Anthony's now going to make his point. Let's see how many times he gets to attempt to without you interrupting.
I would like an answer after.
That's one.
One what?
One attempt that Anthony's had to make his point uninterrupted by you. Because you
Am I gonna
need
get
to
any attempts?
There's 2. So he needs to make this point. You have to obfuscate it. So now we're going to count the amount of times that you stop him from making this point. Because you
go
have
ahead,
to
Anthony.
obfuscate it. Because it's devastating. Go ahead,
Make your
Anthony.
point.
That's 3.
So the definition of neutral buoyancy is a condition in which a physical body's average density is equal to the density of the fluid in which it's immersed. Rumpus demonstrates some maths, and in the maths, he's got the density of the object minus the density of the medium in which it's in, and that should be the end of the maths. However, he adds the volume and the little g gravity, and that's not part of the definition, and there's no science for why it should be there.
There is. The science is in the diagram, and I could go through it with you perfectly if you like me to.
Yeah, but
If I
you've
get a
got
chance to
the
answer.
definition, adding stuff that shouldn't be
I'm
there.
not Anthony. Anthony, the guy in that, whoever wrote that piece in Wikipedia, then follows it with a more detailed explanation.
To do
The
with
point is, Anthony, now you're interrupting me, Anthony. I let you speak. Anthony, the conclusion you can say with neutral buoyancy, you can ignore these 2 things because you know that's 0. Therefore, the whole thing becomes 0. So you can conclude for simple laymen like yourself, it's just an issue of density. But for people who want to know the numbers and the formulas, you need to have the whole bit.
No, they shouldn't be there, Rumpus.
It should be there, Anthony.
No,
because
they
people
shouldn't. They're not
no,
part of the-
this is an equation. Anthony, go and show me where it has a formula for neutral buoyancy somewhere, and you will see it'll say this very thing.
No, I'm
Go
saying
on-
that you've
no,
got
go
the
elsewhere,
formula
Anthony.
wrong.
Go elsewhere and find an equation for
No,
neutral
you've said that.
buoyancy,
Shut up.
and
You've
it will-
said that.
and it will show you
Rumpus.
that.
Rumpus,
It
we
will
don't
show
need to
you
hear
that.
you repeat it. We heard it the first time.
No,
Now
did you? No,
shut your
but I don't think
mouth,
Anthony's understood
you
it.
pathetic little
Anthony, go
2-year-old.
away and
Can't
find
you
the
shut your mouth?
formula.
You have to repeat it 5
Find
times.
the formula for neutral
Shut your
buoyancy,
mouth.
Anthony.
We heard
And you will
you.
see
You can
it
look at the
says that.
formula. Okay, so I've got to shut him up completely because now he's trying to rumpus the host. I've pointed out that he said it. I've pointed out that he's now repeating it. Anthony's trying to respond and he's saying the same thing again because it's devastating to you, isn't it? You don't need this gravity shit. You just put it in there. Anthony points it out, and for the 4th time, When it comes to him actually addressing it, you start repeating yourself, you pathetic, disingenuous liar.
So, Anthony, how about doing that?
No, it's Anthony's turn to respond. You've said,
Right, so Anthony, how
you
about
can
go
go
and
and
get
look
the
it.
formula?
Shut up! So he's told us we can go and look it up. Now he's repeating
go
it
and
again.
get a formula
And
from
now he's
neutral
obfuscating
buoyancy.
me from saying that he said his piece. We've heard it. We don't need to hear it 5 more times. He'll do it anyway because Anthony's response is devastating. He'll do it every time because he's losing. Now he's got a bit of laughter. I can laugh too. You're just obfuscating. You won't let Anthony respond. You're repeating
You don't understand what
yourself.
you're talking about. Neither does Anthony.
Rumpus,
To
let me
have people
respond.
who have no
So
understanding
Anthony's
what
now
they're
talking. That's the
about,
5th time. 5th time.
pontificating
Rumpus.
on subjects they know
Yeah, that's the 6th
absolutely
time.
nothing about.
How
It's
many
just
times
hilarious.
before you'll let him
Let me
talk?
respond,
You can't
please.
sense the reality, Rumpus. You're going to let him talk. Can't sense the reality.
That's right. You can't.
So Rumpus claims that I can go and get the mathematical formula for neutral buoyancy.
Yeah.
And I'm going to assert, before we go and do this, this is like the ice creams thing where you say, if I've got 2 ice creams, you can't physically take 5 ice creams off me, leaving -3. Well, that's exactly what you're doing right now with maths.
Go
You're
and get the
putting
formula.
stuff into the maths that's not
That's
supposed
8.
to be there.
8 times. Sorry, Anthony. Do you want to start again? Rumpus is 3 years old. Can't contain himself because he's losing.
Okay,
Well,
so Rumpus
There's
says
7.
that I need to go
What's
and
that?
find the
9?
equation for
Rumpus,
neutral
start again,
buoyancy.
Anthony. Rumpus can't do it. He's 3 years old. Doesn't know when he needs
Go
to
and
shut
get the
up.
formula from somewhere.
Just stop talking and let me finish, and then you can respond. You're saying that I need to go and get the equation for neutral buoyancy. This is like the maths when we have the ice creams example.
You've said that already, Anthony. Come
That's
on.
Yeah,
10
you interrupted
times.
me.
10 times.
It's irrelevant.
I've asked him
It's
to
irrelevant.
repeat it
You're asking.
because shut up,
Go and
Rumpus.
get the formula.
That's 11.
Go
You've
and
said
get
it
the
already.
formula,
We've heard
Anthony.
you repeat it. He's
Yeah, we're just
repeating it because
wasting
I've
everybody's
asked him
time.
to. Let's shut him up. Let's get it quiet again. I've asked him to repeat it because Rumpus is 3 years old and he can't help interrupting. I've made it clear that every time he does it, I will get Anthony to start again. So he's not repeating himself because he's repeating himself. He's repeating himself at my request because Rumpus can't stop interrupting. It's a devastating point. Rumpus is losing. So he has to add this little distraction every time Anthony talks, and I'm going to make him repeat it every time Rumpus does it.
Come on, Anthony. Go and get the formula.
No, I will start Anthony repeating himself because you've interrupted. Go ahead,
Come
Anthony.
on, Anthony. Go and get the formula.
That's 11 times you've done it, Rumpus. 11.
Yeah, and we know what Anthony's going to say. What we need
Yeah,
him
that's
to do is to
12.
go and get the formula.
Anthony's going to start. Let's see if you can get 13 out of Rumpus.
Yeah, we've done that.
There's
Nathan. We know
13.
what he's going to say.
13
He said
times
it,
you've
Anthony.
interrupted
Nathan,
him.
he said
13
it.
times you've got to
the end.
obfuscate this point. So let's shut him up again. So 13 times Rumpus can't let Anthony get his point in because it's devastating. He's losing. This is his only tactic. Doesn't have a winning argument, just has interrupting him 13 times. Right, Rumpus, you're going to shut up this time?
How about letting Anthony get the
That's
formula?
14. 14 times you won't let Anthony talk. You've got a sense of reality, haven't you, Rumpus?
Well,
Got a
he's
sense
got
of
to
this
talk about
point.
ice cream. That's not relevant.
15 times won't even let him start his sentence.
We know what we know.
There's
He said he's
16.
Nathan.
Won't even let Anthony start his
He
sentence
said
with his
he's
devastating
bit.
point. 17 times. Anthony,
he's
go
bit,
ahead.
Nathan.
18 times. Anthony,
Come on,
go
we've
ahead.
got to go and find that formula.
19
That's what we need
times.
to see.
How many times is this going to go on, Rumpus? You're 3 years
Well,
old.
He finished, Nathan. He finished.
Is he?
He
Anthony.
made his point.
We
He
didn't
made
get to hear his point. You
He wanted
interrupted
to
it.
talk
That's
about
why
ice cream.
20 times later, I'm asking him to repeat it.
Yeah, he talked about
Yeah,
ice
that's
cream. He knows
21.
he's talking about ice
I'm
cream.
asking Anthony, Dumbo, to repeat his point. That means you don't
But
talk.
I want him to go
That's
and get this
21.
equation.
You just can't control yourself. You're a moron.
Oh, I can.
You got Tourette's and you're a moron. Anthony's going to start the next sentence.
So Rumpus is demanding that I go and get the mathematical formula for neutral buoyancy. However, when we do, when we look at the ice creams example,
Oh, no, Anthony.
That's
come
22
on,
times.
you
22 times that Rumpus has to interrupt Anthony because his point's devastating, he's losing, and his only option is to interrupt Anthony 22 times. So, Anthony, if I can get a word in without Rumpus talking over me, I'd like you to start
if he's going to
again.
talk about ice creams, then I think we need to.
That's
we need
23
to stop
times Rumpus is
That.
interrupted.
We need to stop. We need to
24.
Stop the
So Anthony's going to start again because you interrupted, Rumpus. Because you're 3. Can you start again, please, Anthony?
right, I've kicked him now simply because I can't get my words out.
Yeah, he had to. Let me just conclude. Anthony had to kick Rumpus because without kicking him, Anthony would have never got to make his point. After 24 times, Rumpus stopped him from making his devastating point because he was losing, and this point has to be obfuscated at all costs.
So when we went to the Jury's Inn in Birmingham, I opened the Flat Earth conference in the UK on the Friday night, and one of the things that I said that only in maths can some things be explained for the heliocentric model, and I gave Rumpus's example in the ice creams. I said if I've got 2 ice creams, you can't take 5 ice creams off me and leave me with -3 ice creams. It's only in maths that you can do it. And Rumpus needs neutral buoyancy to be demonstrated with maths that doesn't match the definition. The definition clearly stated it was the relative density of the egg relative to the density of the medium in which it's in. But there was no mention of volume or little g, gravity. But he needs that to be in there in maths for it to basically support his position. But it's not there in the definition real world. So to add it in afterwards is just adding it in maths. It's not adding it in the real world where there are supposed to be forces. It's only in maths where this is being done. And that's the conclusion. It's only in maths where gravity exists.
Correct. Net affects 0 in neutral buoyancy, so he has to constantly change the goalposts and say that we're talking about things when they're moving, buoyant, changing their direction with velocity, with a force. That's what he needs to talk about. You pointing out that mathematically introducing a 0 value of g doesn't mean anything. It's net effect 0. He just wants it there because it's needed for his ball religion.
Yep. It's a shame that he can't have the back and forth because he just can't do it. The other thing I was getting to, we started off with the ping pong ball. The ping pong ball point was that if you're able to move it off the perpendicular axis, then you can't argue that gravity is making a play on it. And my citation for that was that crazy experiment guy, the professor guy. He's a little bit eccentric, but he expressly states that then gravity can't be a force that's influencing this because it would only work perpendicular. If it was working on an angle, then gravity is not what we're being told. And gravity is directional, according to what people like Arwin say. But this guy said, no, if gravity is directional, the way you guys say, you can't argue it if it's off axis.
If I may, the volumetric mass of both the water and the egg does not change. And the math actually says that when the eggs...
Es increíble, un tipo bien ampolleta, bien el rompus. El rompus, no.
Jose, what are you doing?
Sorry, I didn't know I had the mic open.
In Spanish.
I'm going to sit you on mute, Jose. Sorry, Jim.
Sorry about that.
What were you saying?
Yeah, with the egg and the water, the egg's volume doesn't change. So its volumetric mass doesn't change. The water, you can change its volumetric mass with the salt. When they both are equal, i.e. the water's volumetric mass is equal to the eggs. In neutral buoyancy. No forces act upon it. They're equal on all sides, if you will.
I agree. If there are forces there, they've got to be identifiable, and you can't identify them only in math.
I don't know who mentioned the volumetric and vertical nature of columns and stuff, and the water above adding a force to what's below. Very real. The walls of the cylinder that are holding the egg and the water play a part in the forces that are containing it. No cylinder, no experiment, no neutral buoyancy. They need that containment. Part of everything. And another thing, the egg's volume will not change. If you use the bladder that, could rise out of the water. Now, the bladder pulled under the water, the same size as the egg. When you pull it under the water, well, it's a skin. And what's inside can compress. So it will not maintain its volume.
Yeah.
And if it goes above the water surface, it will retain or reform to its volume that was equal to the egg prior.
Jimbo, did you see the maths that he had on screen?
No, I don't look at most of that garbage because that's all it is. It's volumetric mass, and until relationships and that you can add density in there for gases and other stuff, that's fair. It fits.
What seems to be the case with Rumpus is that he will literally ram his religion down our throat mathematically to support his position that gravity is a thing, defying completely the definition that was given on screen that didn't mention gravity in any way whatsoever. It described a state that was equal, the density of the egg equaling the density of the medium in which it's in. But Rumpus will ram it down our throats like it's a religion, and I'm saying no, that's not what it says.
He's trying to claim that it's a force, that the 0 in neutral buoyancy is a value that is there and is a true something when nothing is nothing, a chicken can lay eggs, and no chicken lays 0 eggs. 0 is nothing. 0 chickens are 0 chickens. They lay 0 eggs. 0 force is 0 force. It's just like chicken eggs from no chicken. 0 force is 0 force. No force is there. You can't claim one. And
I
he's
agree.
claiming one.
Nathan,
Nothing is
are you
nothing.
there? Nathan? He must have gone for a drink.
You talking to me?
Yes.
It's just noisy. Sorry, I'm telling my kid to get off her tent. What's up?
I was just going to ask you, what did you think about Rumpus literally adding bits to the maths that were not in the definition?
He needs to. He needs to add gravity. He has to have gravity. Even if the net effect is 0, it's got to be in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, his behavior too is really manifest insanity. Any doctor would look at him that, you know, been in the business a while, say, there's something not quite right, you know.
Yeah, there's a lot quite not right with him.
One-sided sandwiches for his picnics or stuff, you know.
I actually enjoy Rumpus joining because the conversations are always difficult, and I enjoy the difficulty because I think he makes a really bad case for the ballers when he joins. Notwithstanding the merit of the arguments he's making, just the way he behaves is terrible. And I just think that Rumpus is great for ballers, showing how bad their model is. And I encourage Rumpus to join, notwithstanding the fact that he's got an undergraduate degree and I've got a
represents the collective delusion that, you know, a popular belief, a cultural belief, whatever, it's a delusion. It's a hallucination. It's a mass hallucination, basically. So he manifests basically this mass hallucination that people are under. We call it heliocentrism and science fiction and pseudoscience.
He forces his religion onto us with mathematics as the vehicle to do it, and demands that we accept mathematics because maths is reality to Rumpus. But of course, the definition doesn't mention anything about volume or gravity. And when it did talk about gravity, it was talking about the buoyancy, right? We're not talking about the buoyancy. We're talking about the neutral buoyancy. And Rumpus insists that there's a net force there, and there isn't. There is a state of equilibrium, which we now call neutral buoyancy, where nothing's moving. So he doesn't have a moving and accelerating mass. So he hasn't got a force. He hasn't got a net force, because if he has, he can't prove it, and no one accepts it anyway. And assertions without evidence can be dismissed without evidence, according to Hitchens' razor. So bottom line was, Rumpus, you can't prove your assertions are true, no matter how hard you ram them down our throat. Sorry.
Do you guys believe in man-made satellites?
Yeah.
What they call a geostationary satellite can simply be a heavy lift balloon hovering somewhere above us there.
Who
kicked my wife's account? This is my wife. I got kicked in my 3 other accounts. The fish account and two accounts of Jose Gonzalez.
Pewter kicked you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, I can promise I don't kick people, and I have no business kicking people, so I don't even use that ability or feature. So it's
I was keeping an eye on. I know P got kicked a couple of times, and I wasn't sure whether P was on the receiving end of it or whether he was causing it and got kicked. So P, I had to remove you a couple of times because I didn't know if you were going to kick everybody yourself.
No, I don't. I don't kick people. I just play music and
porn.
I don't play porn.
Yeah, you do.
No, I don't.
You sure?
I've never.
Oh, did someone kick
him? The only person I've ever
All right, I got him.
Tim Osmond.
We didn't need kicking.
Not from here either, though. Way back.
P's dropped.
I think someone booted him. I don't know why. He hadn't done anything.
He hasn't. No, he's dropped.
In the back chat.
He's not been kicked.
He's not in the back chat. He's just messing around. He's obviously the one kicking people.
I don't know if that's true, but there we go. I can't really control who kicks who, so I might as well pipe down.
Is Alexander there?
I was going to say it'd be a good opportunity to say hello to, what about Bob and Alexander? How you doing, both of you?
Yeah, hello everybody. Just quick jump in to say hello everybody from Serbia, Belgrade, Serbia.
So Serbia and Belgrade used to be Yugoslavia, right?
Yes, ex-Yugoslavia.
When you were in school, did you get taught that we live on a sphere, or did you not get taught anything to do with the shape of the Earth?
Of course, we all did. So my son, who is now 14 years old, is asking questions to his geography teacher.
And just to clear up stuff, he's actually Slavic. Yugo means south, southern
Yes.
Slavics.
Yes. So I jumped in just to say hello to everybody. Love the show. And here in ex-former Yugoslavia countries like Serbia, Bosnia, Croatia, Slovenia, Macedonia, and Montenegro, there are plenty of flat earthers. We also have a hangout at Saturday night called Looking for the Curvature. And I think some 2 years, maybe, for now. It's very, how do I say, watched. And also big regard to Nathan. He inspired me to how do I say, make one prayer for all ball earthers out there. So if I may to say this prayer for them. So here it is. Globus Patri et Crivinus.
I'm not kicking anyone. I'm getting kicked, by the way. So.
Okay. Sorry. I'm starting again with the prayer. Globus Patri et Crivinus et Foculus Pendulums. Gravitus erart in principio et planetus elliptus helius. Amen.
Amen, brother.
Wow. Nice.
And at the end, just I don't know if you're aware of the fact that curve, the word curve in Serbia, Croatia, Bosnian language is the same as word prostitute, female prostitute.
Really?
Yeah. We say kurva. Kurva means female prostitute. So krivina, curve, is prostitute in Serbian language.
Cool.
Curva is curve in Spanish.
Yeah, great. Okay, that's it, guys. Love you. And bye-bye for everybody.
Just before you go, what did you think of Rumpus's explanation for gravity?
Oh, it's so funny. He doesn't realize that he's a believer. He's heliocentric.
He's definitely a believer.
Yeah, I'm sorry for him. I feel sorry for him.
I'd like to say something in defense of numbers here, eh?
I'm a believer too.
You know, do have their magical properties and their very phony applications that they can be used with. But in general, numbers are used by people as comparisons, so we can understand a scale or a relationship to something, a constant, something that we can all identify with. Like temperature. If we didn't have the degree scale in Fahrenheit that was worked out and we all got to learn it to a degree or so, then we'd call someone, how's the weather out there? Oh, it's really hot. It'd be a papa bear, mama bear, baby bear thing with my porridge is too hot, my porridge is too cold. It's just right. So they have their place, but when used properly, like I say, and of course, you have to have an origin, a starting point, a place where, say for example, in dealing with forces, no forces exist. Yeah, zero force is zero force.
To be fair, though, one of the ethos points in maths is that if it doesn't match reality, it's wrong. And that basically Rumpus's explanation.
That's absolutely right. And it's
on that basis, I'm going to declare it wrong.
You know, uniformity and clarity, you know, a lot of this is about ambiguity and definitions. Density, it's real. It's a term that has to be used and applied, but at the right point and time. So and you know, more often than not, you'll use volumetrics, you'll use the volumetric mass way of doing things well before you'll you know, that's applied first to matter and material before the so-called density. Density does apply for gases and in all kinds of instances, but not in every instance. Like, for example, a cubic cc of gold has a very specific weight and volume. You can't increase the density of that gold by shoving atoms into it. If you add more gold, you're increasing mass, but you're not increasing any density. See, the density of gold can't be changed.
Well, the density of gold can only be changed. Well, no, you're right. The density can't be changed unless. See, you'd have to change the environment in which the gold is in.
Again, then it becomes relative. In science,
then it
stuff
becomes
like,
relative,
say, like for the volume of water, 1 cubic cc of water at 72 degrees at sea level is 1 gram of mass. We don't use weight because, again, that distinction between mass and weight. Take mass over weight any day because mass does not change. You can't stuff more gold into a volume of gold. So mass does not change, but weights of things do. Take some grapes up to the top of a mountain, weigh out 1 kilo at sea level, take it to the top of Mount Everest, weigh it on an accurate calibrated scale, and likely it'll weigh 1 gram or 2 less. That might be vapor pressure in the air, and as a force. I don't know. But when you bring it back down, the mass has not changed. They've told us forever, if you want to lose weight, go to the moon. You'll only weigh 1/6 of what you do on the Earth. Well, your mass doesn't change just because you went to the moon, or Weight Watchers would be sending everybody to the moon.
If you want to lose.
Can I get back to the
weight and mass are different. Don't throw in the word weight ever if possible. It has a place at times, very limited. When you're dealing with calculations involving objects that have volume and density, you use mass.
Can I get back to the point where you said you can't change the density of gold? Can't you compress it to and change the density by decreasing the volume? But not decreasing the mass.
Press it outside of a container, you'll make, coins or wire or gold leaf or.
Yeah, so you change the density.
No,
by compressing.
You change the well, not even the volume. You change the shape. The volume stays the same. The mass stays the same. It's just the surface area changes.
No, I mean by really compressing it to change the volume. Is it impossible, or isn't it possible with gold?
You cannot compress gold.
Can't you?
You cannot compress silver. You cannot compress water. You cannot compress oils.
According to this.
Okay, so yeah. Please go.
Sorry to interrupt. Sorry. According to this, you can. I just looked it up. It says if you get it up to 2 million atmospheres, you can condense it to. You can compress it to about half
for
its
practical purposes.
All right, but let's say you can only keep it this way if you keep the pressure on. If you release the pressure, it goes back to the normal state it would want to be, right? So let's say an hydraulic press, you compress the gold and you force it to change its volume, but it doesn't want. Once you release the press, the gold goes back to its normal state. Is it right?
This is what we're calling moving the goalpost. As I stated earlier, when we take like the specific volume of water, it's at a place with certain conditionals and variables around it. The air pressure, well, average, say around, but your temperature and your air, your place at sea level is in the calculation there. Its volume is 1 gram for every cubic cc for fresh, pure water at sea level at 72 degrees. Change anything you want, you're moving the goalposts. You're not doing science anymore. You're chasing butterflies through goalposts that you keep moving and moving and moving. This little exception proves you're wrong. This proves you're wrong. You can compress water with your hands. Show me how. Show me how much water will compress in a little piston, like a syringe handle there with a little plunger. Show me how many billionths of a zillionth of a trillionth of a quadrillionth of a micron it compresses. Okay, it compresses. I'm wrong.
You are complete. You are creating a lot of straw man.
And you're creating the straw man.
No, I am not. I just
water
asked. Can you let me finish this one, please? All right. I just asked if it's possible to compress gold and then release it and keep it compressed, but it doesn't seem so. So it was just a question. I don't want to make any point.
If you compress gold enough, it'll liquefy because adding pressure adds heat.
I don't want to say anything with that. I just wanted to ask this question if if it's possible to compress gold.
I don't know. I mean,
right.
I've never tried to compress gold. I know when you hammer gold, it goes flatter. Jewelers use that property to make
but it goes
jewelry.
wider. It goes wider, right? It goes flatter,
Well,
but
yeah,
wider.
the volume doesn't change. The area changes. The mass does not change. If you start out with 1 cc of pure gold and hammer it out into a wire 30 feet long, it's still all bundled up and thrown and calibrated and calculated. Its actual volumetric mass, it won't have changed.
Yeah, it was kind of a useless question because I could look it up for myself really easily if it's possible to compress gold and release it and keep it compressed.
Or
but
fluid.
I don't think so. I don't think it's possible.
No.
I think gold is stable like this. You can do it with other materials, but iron, gold, lead, and other elements, I don't think that it's possible for them. So yeah.
Look what you have to do to change steel. You have to heat it red hot in hot coals, blast air into it, and hammer the hell out of it to even change its shape.
Yeah, I know.
Or pour it liquid.
Yeah, but gold is soft enough that you can do it with I think your hand. So yeah, please go on. This was just a simple question. Didn't want to say anything.
Well, the big thing was about numbers, and again, you have to have a starting point where forces apply. There's an origin, 0. Some people think 0 is a number. It's a container, a tank, a storage place. That's all it is. It's not a number.
Hey, have you heard?
Do anything with 0 except substitute it or use it to hold a space.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Have you heard Paul on the Plains co-host Oxy talk about his experiments with density and buoyancy? He measured the speed of a bubble rising in water. It was interesting that it came out to 9.8 meters per second squared, same as the downward force of acceleration of, in quotes, gravity. Anyway, he's supposed to be coming out with a video on it soon, but it was very interesting all the same. Hello, anybody there?
For upward displacement of something buoyant underwater, it depends on how fast it would rise, would depend on its relative volumic mass compared to the water. The closer to the water it is, the slower it will rise. Like cork will rise faster than, I don't know what else. Again, relative to what you're working with.
Well, he took a gallon container, I guess a volume, 1 gallon of air, and weighed the upward force of that gallon of air. And it weighed exactly the same as the downward force of a gallon of water outside of water. That same volume of water outside of water.
I thought there were some rules about equal
I'm
and
probably
opposite reactions, if including for displacement and energy, conservation of energy. If you pull it down and it has 10 feet down, 1 gallon or one cubic foot of air, you let it up.
Well, check it out. It's
calculable.
The guy's name is Oxy, on Paul on the Plains, co-host. Worked it out. They were on Iron Realm, explaining it a bit. I think a couple of shows ago. I'd be interested to hear what your opinion on it is.
Some things float up faster than other things, and some things sink faster than other things. So it always depends on what's in the water, the density of the water. You know, you drop a basketball on the water and an apple, or maybe a golf ball. Well, basketball splashes, stays on top, golf ball goes down. If you threw a ping pong ball in the mix and dropped them from 1,000 feet, ping pong ball would probably fall the last and arrive at the water the last.
Right.
Makes sense.
Oh yeah, well, check it out. His made sense too. And again, I'm probably doing a terrible job. I'm probably butchering his explanation, but it was very interesting. In fact, I want to listen to it over again. And like I said, he's supposed to be coming out with a little mini on it, on his experiments or his tests. And I just thought it was very interesting.
If Australia is truly upside down, airplanes, when they're upside down, you have to reverse your controls. To nose up, you nose down. To nose down, you nose up. You're in stunt pilot mode.
What's upside down airplanes? What?
Well, when any airplane is upside down,
How do you mean upside down?
Upside down, flying with the belly up.
What?
Cockpit to the ground.
Okay. Never seen something like that. Yeah.
You've never seen like air shows, planes flying upside down?
I mean normal planes like you know, commercial airplanes, but yeah.
Okay, they have to be equipped and be able to accommodate that situation, because there are shears and vortices that they can get trapped in, and they can flip them upside down.
Oh, okay.
But there is a movie with Denzel Washington about a pilot who had that actually happen with a plane full of passengers. The plane got flipped out upside down.
Absolutely.
He piloted it upside down, landed it.
Aircraft has to fly in it flies in 3 dimensions.
Yeah, but the point is,
anyway,
when the plane is upside down, the controls operate in reverse for nose up and nose down. Things are all reversed.
Right.
So Australian pilots or people who fly to Australia, when they land, they're in stunt mode. You see, you have your gyro. If you take off at the North Pole, your gyro is pointing north-south, right? And your plane is belly down, right? Now you fly that full hemicircle to the South Pole. Well, your belly's pointed up, right? But that gyro is still pointed north-south, right? Your plane is effectively upside down. You're landing up. Your instrumentation.
I agree. Brian Mullen.
You have to
Brian
reverse.
Mullen had a great.
What? Yeah, please go on.
Brian Mullen had a great explanation of that. He where he was explaining an aircraft flying from Quito, Ecuador, over the pole, over the North Pole, to Indonesia, opposite side of the Earth, the ball Earth, and demonstrating how the gyro would be inverted by the time he landed in. Or not only that, but also that by the time he got to the opposite side of the Earth, he would be over Quito, Ecuador again, because of the rotation of the Earth. Quito, his departure point would rotate around to where he was by the time he got there.
What you said before, James, was that you think when I fly from the North Pole to the South Pole, the plane should be upside down? Is it right? Or did I misunderstand it? Because
well, take a little toy globe and take a little toy airplane. Start at the North Pole of your toy globe. Fly to underneath the globe and land your plane. Tell me if the belly of the plane is upside down to compared to where you were.
Well, the belly will always be in the direction of the globe.
Down, right? Yeah, so it'll be
always
facing
down.
up.
So yeah,
It'll
always
be
down.
pointed up.
Hey, Alan.
It'll be up.
No, the belly would always be pointed down, no matter.
The belly would be pointed at the North Pole. If you fly to the South Pole from the North Pole, the belly of that plane would be pointed up.
You
upside
idiot.
down.
Unbelievable.
No, it would be pointed down. It doesn't matter. You can fly around the world and it will always be pointed down. Because if you take the plane and like make a half, you fly it half around the world. Take this plane and throw it for yourself on the globe.
Take your toy plane over the North Pole. Belly is down. When you get to the equator, is the tail up in the air and the nose pointed down?
It will. When you get to the equator, it will be exactly
the
the same.
Tail up in the air. Is the tail up in the air and the nose pointed down at the equator when you're pulling your toy plane from the North Pole, belly down around to the equator? The belly of the plane stays pointed to the equator, right?
No, it will be exactly
down,
the same like on North Pole.
with the nose. Really? Then it's flat. You're saying it's
Can I
flat.
just
No,
interject just for 1 second? I'm
on
sorry,
a
guys. Sorry to interrupt.
heliocentric model, it is still would be the same as on the North Pole.
Sorry to
Take your little
interrupt.
toy
Sorry to
plane
interrupt.
and
Sorry
take
to
the north
interrupt.
part of the
Jimbo,
ball
Jimbo,
and fly down
Jimbo,
to the equator.
Jimbo,
The tail is up in the air and the nose is pointed down. Just to
how
do
many
this.
times? Jimbo.
The nose pointed down. I'm sorry.
Jimbo. Right, so you're talking about in reference to your starting point. So the belly would be upside down in reference to the starting point, as demonstrated, if we lived on a sphere, by the gyroscope.
Exactly.
The gyroscope is pointing north and south, right? When you take off and it's spinning, it doesn't lose its directionality. Right?
Directionality.
Right. Where it's pointing, its orientation.
Excellent. So Mate 4's joined. Hello,
now
Mate
you fly
4.
down to the equator.
Yeah.
You have
Hey,
to
Mate
fly
4,
down
how you
around
doing?
an arc,
Can I just
pointing
say
your
quick
nose
hello?
down to compensate
Please
as you're
don't
going away
repeat
from
it
the North
5
Pole,
more
right?
times. God.
You don't.
Hi, Mate 4.
I don't think so, no.
Hi, Mate 4.
Flat. Oh, well.
Lights in the sky prove a globe.
See, that sounds like you're being
Let's
told.
keep this on this plane thing. I don't think you would have to point the nose down to keep it level with the ground, because this will happen automatically. You know.
I agree with you. In heliocentric theory, the plane would still be level with the ground at the South Pole, but the gyro would be inverted.
No, it wouldn't.
It'd be 180 degrees the attitude indicator.
Do you understand how a gyro works, Alan?
Answers aren't very consistent out there, guys. Come on, let's have some consistency. Rally around one answer or something, please.
You got one answer. It wouldn't.
No, why wouldn't it, Alan?
Why would it? Because you're not upside down.
Why wouldn't it, Alan?
Because you're not upside down.
No,
Let me add this one really quick.
That's exactly what I'm saying. You're not upside down, but you're
hypothetically, if I'm looking from outside the Earth atmosphere, let's say the ISS. Let's say I'm in the ISS looking at Earth and looking at the plane. You are upside down, right? If you leave the North Pole and go around the globe, you're looking at the plane upside down, right? Yes?
Correct. If you're looking at a globe.
This is just a thought experiment, and yeah, that's what you believe, like for real.
Which would mean the plane belly would be pointed up towards the North Pole.
Unbelievable.
Your belief.
Right? Unbelievable
Not
indeed.
unbelievable. You believe it. That's why you're saying unbelievable. You can't believe that you believe the unbelievable.
In your face. It's right in your face.
The plane would always balance itself due to the center of mass, because, you know, it will always have the balance.
Yeah, it doesn't do that though, does it? Have you got any evidence that it does that?
Well, I just explained on a heliocentric globe that it would always have this balance. It doesn't even need...
Right, but on the gyroscope wouldn't correct for the curvature of the Earth.
Again?
The gyroscope would not correct for the curvature of the Earth.
I don't know about the argument of the gyroscope, but yeah.
Well, then read about
on the one hand,
Go
you've
and
got
read
you
about
saying
it.
that on the
Study
heliocentric
it.
model it would work, but on the other hand, you've got a gyroscope that shows that you haven't gone round no curve. So which one's right?
I don't know.
Hang on, Tony.
Gyroscope.
Tony, does
Gyroscope
this guy
is
fly the...
rigid in space.
Does this guy fly to Australia on his head? Pretty much like your balloon experiment.
Make 4.
Why can't I see the North Pole star in Australia?
Sphere. Can we talk about lights in the sky with Make 4?
Yes, we can.
So, what lights do you think prove a sphere?
Well, I can't see the North Pole Star from Australia.
Right. You can't see my headlights flashing you down. If I point my car at Australia, you can't see my headlights either, can you?
I can see the South Celestial Pole, though.
Okay, so what?
Great.
Also, sunrise, sunset, azimuth proves it.
Sunrise, sunset, azimuth. Right, okay, so South Pole rotation point. If we live on a sphere, that's got to be antipode to the north rotation point, right?
Yep.
Right. Have you got any evidence that your rotation point in the south is antipode to the rotation point in the north?
I don't know what you're saying, but all I know is I've got a South Celestial Pole and 3 continents can see it.
It's got to be opposite, hasn't it? Can't be anything else other than
Well,
opposite.
imagine you're on a plane, on a flat plane.
Hang on.
Eventually, if you go moving away.
Hang on a minute. Hang on. Your rotation point in the south that you look at when you look south on a ball must be south relative to the north, correct? Opposite.
Yeah.
How are you going to tell me? How are you going to prove south?
With a compass.
Right. And what are you going to do with the compass?
Nothing. It's up in the sky there, man, and it rotates.
I don't care. Is it south or not? And how are you going to prove that it's south?
With a compass.
Right. So what are you going to do with your compass?
Just look at it.
Right. And you're going to see where north is, correct?
Yep.
And then you're going to see where your south is, which would be opposite, antipode. And then you're going to line that up with due south, correct? I've got news for you, buddy. Your rotation point isn't due south.
It's close enough. I don't
No,
know.
it's
I can't exactly tell. Maybe my phone's off.
What city are you in Australia?
Canberra.
Right, so you've got a declination adjustment of about 11 degrees. That means 11 degrees away from south is where you see the rotation point, and you've got to adjust by 11 degrees, and I'm going to assert it's because we're on a flat plane and it's not due south for you.
So how do other continents see the South Pole at the same time?
Who cares? You're a continent that you think that you look south and see the rotation point. You don't. You look about 12, 11 degrees off. That's not south, so it can't be a sphere, but you think it does, and you haven't checked what south is on your continent.
Well, why can't it be a sphere?
Because it has to be antipode to the north. In other words, your compass has got to show that it's south. And if you're going to check it with a compass, then when you point it like north and south, yours are not going to line up because you've got to do something called declinate. Now, whether you declinate or not, the point is that your compass is not pointing south when you see the stars.
That's from the celestial equator, though.
He's just said he's going to use the compass and he's going to use it to denote south. Well, if he
you're
does
doing
that, he has to
angular
declinate.
distance from the north or south from the celestial equator, correct?
But there shouldn't be an angle of incidence, though. It should be the antipode. So if he gets his compass out, it should be the opposite of north. It's not. Problem.
No, I don't think you understand it.
Explain it to me then.
Oh, he understands it. He understands it very well. It's.
Hang on, you said you'd be upside down if you're in Australia.
Yeah,
and
in
the
relation
gyro
to where
would
you
be
start.
inverted. You've never been a pilot in your life.
Yeah, you tell him, Eleanor. In relation to where you start, you are upside down, and that would be shown by the gyroscope.
No.
Yes.
And that is not what I said. That is not what I said.
So,
Guys,
so let's get back
I'm
to
in
make
Australia
four.
and I'm upside down. Isn't it amazing?
Let's just conclude. Let's just conclude the point with Make 4, who thinks that lights in the sky prove sphere. Do we agree, Make 4, that you've got a declination adjustment of around about 12 degrees for where you are?
Yeah, well, it's up in the sky.
I found a spot.
So it's not south then, is
Riley,
it?
I found
It's
a
off south.
spot.
And that's consistent with being on a flat plane. And
Looks
you just
pretty
call it
south to me.
declination because you need it to explain why it's not off south.
Looks pretty damn south to me, and other people
Yeah,
around
but it's
the
not
world
south,
can
is
see
it? And it must be south on your model if you live on a sphere. So how do tell me again? How do the lights in the sky
Compass
prove
away. Just put
sphere?
the compass away and use the stars. You don't need magnetic declination.
Pretty much.
You need to know what south is, though, Alan, right?
I've kicked him out. He's just obfuscating your point with Make 4.
Well, I'd like to know how Alan thinks that this is somehow wrong.
Well, he said that's why I kicked him out. You just look at the.
Oh, Alan.
Yeah, he said you just look at the stars and just use the stars. In other words, look at the stars and decide that that's south.
Yeah, it's not opposite to north, though, is it? That's the point. If we live on a sphere, it must be opposite to north. How are you going to work that north out?
Said just chuck away the compass.
Riley,
just look at the stars. That was Alan's answer.
I found a.
Sunrise, sunset,
Riley, I
azimuth
found
proves that we're on a tilted globe, guys. You can't deny it. Stop living in a magical
Sunrise,
dome. Your
sunset
sun
doesn't prove that we're on a tilted
Your
globe.
sun doesn't wobble. It does.
So for that to work, the sun's got to be a physical object.
Hold on, Anthony. So, make 4. You said you take your compass, you point it, you get where south is, and then you look at the stars. But you have declination.
So it's not south. Make 4. That's the point. And what I'll say is that you've got to declinate because we live on a flat plane, and it's not south, and it supports the flat plane model. It doesn't support a sphere model because you wouldn't have to declinate if it did support a sphere.
But the fact that other countries and continents can see it.
Yeah, but your continent, and you said when you look south, you see the thingy, the rotation point. But you don't, do you? You look about 10, 12 degrees off south, then you see it. Well, that's consistent with it being a flat plane. But your assertion was that the lights prove that we live on a sphere. That's not true.
I don't know if you've seen it, but I've seen it. Have you ever been to Australia?
Sorry,
you don't know if I've seen what?
You're not addressing. Hold on, make 4. So, if they're antipode, let's go through it one step at a time. Do you know what antipode means?
Yes.
Right. If they are antipode, then you would expect to look south and see those stars south, wouldn't you?
More or less, but you remember looking at the sky as well.
Magnetic south isn't the same as geographic south. I've already said this. Declination, morons.
Oh, Tim, nice to meet you. Tell me about that 69 miles and 1 degree. What's the
No,
sentence?
let's talk about magnetic declination.
No, let's talk about your
And how
claim
you're
about
confusing the
celestial
geographic south with the magnetic south. You absolute utter moron.
So then the point would be you can't prove south.
Well, like, so it's a magical dome, is it?
Tim, then the point would be that you can't prove what south is.
So how does your sun wobble, and how do you have, like, everyone seeing that
make
wobbling,
4.
arcing
You
sun?
brought up this point. Now you want a ham-handed segue. No.
What?
Yeah, you want to segue away from this point. So now Tim's come in and said there's lots of different souths, which we all knew. We were waiting for one of you Muppets to bring it up. Now Tim's brought it up. So let's hold Tim's toes to the fire. Not talk about the sun because your example hasn't worked. Yeah, you did this last time, Make 4. Last time you circle jerked around and reasserted the same thing after we took it to pieces, based on that you assumed.
Because you guys just ignore it.
Don't laugh at me. I'm talking. We took your example apart last time. We're taking it apart this time. Don't now move on to the sun. One of your other Muppets that believes he's on a sphere, namely Tim Osman, has come in and said, we don't know what south is. Shock horror. But let's hear more from Tim.
No matter what, you can't explain why other people on other continents see the same stars in the south.
Sorry, do they see them south?
Yeah, that's not true. They don't see them when south.
Sorry, is that your answer? Hold on, Anthony, let me at him. While my kid cries. So, you don't see him south?
You see them up in the sky, and it's pretty much south to me.
Oh, right, you assert that they're under my arse and south. Specifically under my arse, antipode to your stars, and south. And they're not.
Okay.
So is that your response? Ha ha ha, okay. So yeah, this is me pointing out at the end of it already being done that we've ripped your point to pieces.
No, you haven't.
Oh, yeah, really? The hand wave dismissal from a moron.
No, well, other continents see the stars. How do you explain that?
Do they see them south? Third time asking, moron.
None of them see them south. Got multiple celestial poles on the floor.
Do they see them south, moron?
Probably close enough.
Close enough or south?
Oh, pretty much close enough.
Pretty much close enough, or they apply a 10-degree declination in your exact location. Hello?
You're just diverting.
Hello, moron. Your argument's been ripped to pieces. Now it's time for you to shut up. Not start a new crap argument.
No, you can't explain.
Yeah, shut up. We want to hear Tim Osman explain why you Muppets, who think you live on a sphere with antipodal star rotation, think you have different souths. That's what we want to hear next. Not you starting a new crap point that we'll take apart again. We've taken this part. That's what we're doing. You still haven't answered.
Okay.
Do they see themselves?
You win apparently because you're in denial. Yeah. You can't explain the other
shut
polls.
Up, mate. Four.
Just
shut up.
We can point out the problems with your perception.
So anyway, Anthony, can we get this pinned down that geographic south isn't the same as the celestial south, as well as the geographic south?
The point
can we get that tied down?
North or not? Is it
can we get that tied down, buddy?
That's the point.
It's called magnetic declination as well. It's not just declination, so you're trying to trip people up with that as well.
No, the point we're making is that it's not opposite north. How do you determine what north is, Tim?
Do you understand that geographic south and geographic north are not exactly on where magnetic north and magnetic south are, correct?
Yes, that is our point, that's not the point, you Muppet.
That isn't the point, Tim. I understand what you're saying.
You can get the exact latitude and longitude of where the south magnetic pole is and north magnetic pole is. That's why you have declination.
I understand your point, and that's not my point. My point is that you guys need to know where north is to be able to work out where south should be.
Hey, most people understand with the sun during solar noon where north, south, east, and west is. Okay, you're the only one that has issues with this.
No. You guys have got issues with it because you've got a declination adjustment of 9 degrees in Argentina, about 12 degrees in Australia.
Who's breathing? Hey, stop breathing into the microphone, you clown. I've been hearing that all day.
That supports it being flat. And I would assert your compass is actually true. What your compass is telling you only works on a flat plane, by the way, not on a sphere.
Okay, well, but I'm prove that assertion then, Anthony.
And what you're looking at is due south.
Stop trying to trip people up
with the rotation points. And it seems to be a cover or a lie or an excuse for why we don't have due south observations.
Okay, cool. Well, you have a hunch then, Anthony. Cool, man. Well, then explore it and try to prove it scientifically. What's your hypothesis? What's your null hypothesis?
I mean, Tim.
It's your assertion.
What? Your null hypothesis?
It's your assertion,
I didn't hear
it. Idiot. You are making the assertion about celestial star rotation proving a sphere. It's your assertion, dickhead.
He's making the assertion that there's some conspiracy. So I want him to...
No, he didn't
I'm
make
saying that you guys are adjusting for something that you shouldn't be adjusting for. Either the compass works
then prove
or it doesn't work.
Prove it.
Prove what?
You've also said that this actually, you're going to assert that it proves a flat Earth because there's declination.
So he didn't assert that. We're going to do this all day, are we, while you tell us what he's asserting? Your assertion is the star rotation proves a ball. That's your assertion.
I never said that.
Oh, why
did I say that when I came?
You joined to tell us that magnetic declination is something we don't understand when we do understand it. Yeah, you have to change it.
Why are you tripping people up with it then? You're calling...
We're not tripping anybody up. Your ball requires antipodal star rotation. So you need to know where north and south are, and you don't.
The ball has antipodal star rotation.
Does the ball, so if we assume it, we can take a geographical location, can we? And just make it up different to the one that you actually use normally? Oh yeah, that's fascinating. That doesn't prove anything then, does it?
Prove antipodal star rotation, Tim.
Yeah.
I don't need to. Prove it doesn't exist.
Yeah, you do. You're the one that claims we're on a ball.
Nah, afraid not. If you want to think in your stupid mind that antipodal star rotation exists, then prove it exists.
Then prove it doesn't exist. If you guys want to...
You can't prove an argument from ignorance. That's a logical fallacy, Tim, you absolute moron.
Hey, Tim, I want to ask you something. Do you still stand by that 1 degree for every 69 miles traveling?
So are we going to go into the horizon and then McWest? Because I know all your arguments, man.
Simple question.
Silly.
Do you still stand by
you can't pull anything off
1 degree, right? Simple. Come on. Do you still stand by it?
Are you going to continue to try to trip people up with this declination issue?
Can you model the celestial poles for me then?
Is that still your position or not?
How do the celestial poles work for the other continents then?
Anthony, there's evidence. Anthony, there's evidence of people on 3 different continents in the southern hemisphere taking star rotations, looking south. If you don't want to believe that, that's fine. But what you need to do, instead of try to get a degree or whatever, get
Prove
some
it.
money together, or just ask some flat earthers that live there. There's millions of flat earthers. Ask them to do observations for you, okay? So that you can disprove this.
Not south.
Thank you.
Not south, Tim. But listen back to my question. Do you still stand by 69 miles for every 1 degree? Yes or no?
It's dropped.
I see the sun go over my head every day, and I pretty much know where north, south, east, west is.
Okay.
No, you don't.
Hold on. Let me ask a question, Make 4. So you got your compass in your hand. Which way south?
I don't need a compass.
It's a simple
South
question.
is to the left of me right now.
Right.
So
and
you
I'll
know
say
which
that
way
south
north,
is
south,
upside down
east,
to
and
me.
west is?
From the sun, going over my head every day, and where it sets.
Right, make
east to
4.
west.
Make 4. Where did you say you were? Did you say you were in Canberra?
Yep.
Right. Do you know what your declination adjustment is?
No.
Would you like me to tell you?
I don't need to be told, because you guys are just trying to run
You're the
around
one
in
that thinks that
circles.
the stars proves globe, right? You've got a 12.4 degree difference in what your compass tells you is south compared to what they tell you is actually south. And that means that you've got to agree that either your compass is telling you what south is or that your compass is wrong. Either way seems pretty shoddy, right? So,
I just told you
12.4
I don't need a
degrees.
compass. I don't need a compass.
Well, you said that you were going to determine south with it. So how are you going to determine south without a compass?
The sun.
Okay. So which direction does that rise?
In the east.
Right. And how are you going to measure that?
Just by looking at it.
Right. So 90 degrees from your point that it rises should be your southern rotation point, right?
Yep.
Guess what, buddy? It ain't going to happen.
It does. It happens every night. I watch them.
90 degrees from your point where it rises?
Yeah.
Okay. Evidence, please.
Okay. It's all everywhere. Stop denying
What?
things. Stop.
I'm not. I'm asking for
on
proof.
on the ball Earth. If you're looking at the sunrise east, you're looking
Yeah.
towards the equator.
Well, allegedly. We're just saying, my position is that we're just seeing the sunrise.
Right. Absolutely.
Say again.
Just, I said absolutely. I think you're correct. I was just.
So
trying
you're
to
saying
point
that the
out,
sunrise,
what do you
90
think?
degrees from the sunrise, will be the rotation point that you guys call the southern rotation point. Is that your position?
What did you say?
Is your position that you will see the rotation point 90 degrees from your sunrise position? Is that your position?
Yeah, pretty much. It's about that.
No, it needs to be 90 degrees. If that's your position, then it needs to be 90 because that's what you're telling me is east.
Well, I don't actually look at the exact pole point because there's not really a star there that's visible.
The
with
rotation
naked
point,
eye.
I said. I didn't say pole star. I said rotation point.
So anyway, it's there.
So
guys.
about that
South
assertion you made, so the lights in the sky prove globe. Do you still stand by that?
Yeah, because the sun as well comes up like from the horizon, and
Yeah.
it's coming onto summer for us now. So it's rising in
Yeah.
the southeast and setting in the southwest.
Yeah, now you're going to
And
prove
that
it's
proves
southeast and west. What's your reference point?
Well, just where the sun comes up.
Okay. So then you've got to show you 90 degrees again, and which is what you do believe.
No.
Have you got any evidence for it, though?
We're talking about the sun rising southeast and setting southwest. How does it curve on a flat Earth model like that for everyone around the world?
Who cares? We don't know. We don't know what the sun is.
Who cares? You see the denial?
No,
Why
but we're
can't
not
you guys,
expected
like,
to show what
see
it
this?
does. We're just pointing out to you the problems with your model, and your model is that you can't even tell what north is. You haven't got a reliable
You can't
reference
even
point.
model why the sun curves like that. You can't model that.
Yeah, we can. It can be modeled
You
using
don't
lenses. You
even
just got to get the right
understand your own
proportion and
model.
the right combination
Your
of
sun-
lenses.
Your sun needs to wobble in and out of the flat Earth just so people see it curve from.
Who cares
from
what my sun
southeast.
does? Let's worry about what your sun does and what it doesn't do.
Well, so you just
What
say
do you-
who
what do
cares
you-
and deny stuff.
No, I'm
What are you
denying that
talking
I haven't got
about,
a model.
wobble?
That's fine. What I'm saying is,
It
you
moves
think
in
that the
and
lights
out,
in the
in and
sky
out.
prove globe, and I'm saying they don't.
Well, you don't even understand your own model. Because
Yes,
on
I
the
do.
ball
We haven't got a model.
on the heliocentric model,
We don't have a model. We're just pulling apart yours.
if you're
You guys
if you're-
can't tell
if
what
you're-
north is.
If you're referring to the wobble as being the sun, I don't know. What do you mean by wobble?
The way it curves from southeast to southwest and overhead at midday. How does the flat Earth sun do that?
Who cares? The problem is not with us. The problem lies with your belief that the lights in the sky prove globe. That was your
They do.
assertion that I asked you to join for so we could rip it apart. And I'm asking you, how do you know what north, south, east, or west is? And if your reference point is no longer the compass, and now it's the point that the sun rises as due east, great. Show us where south is then. Show us where the stars line up to that. Oh,
Why do you
what's
have
that?
to make it
Can't.
so silly?
Why what?
Why do you have to make it so silly?
Because you're the one that's talking silly.
I'm not though. I've studied it all.
Really? So what evidence did you accept?
That it's a globe and it's tilted because that.
No, that was the conclusion.
the
What was the evidence that you
Yeah.
accepted?
Southeast, southwest proves a tilt.
Really? So what did you accept that came to that conclusion?
The sun
Was it a
rising and
compass?
setting.
What?
I don't really like. I can
You
just.
don't
look
know
at the
what
sun
north is
curving
if you're in
across
the
the
south
sky.
because you haven't
I
got a
don't
reference
I don't
point.
even need tools. I don't need tools. It's the cheapest experiment you can do.
Right. You don't know what north is if you're
if
in the
you're
south
saying-
because you can't see it. So how are you going to know it?
If you're saying that the rotation point of the south celestial pole is 90 degrees to the sunrise, then you're not looking towards the pole.
That's at equinox. That's at equinox.
Right. If you're looking at the southern rotation point and you're using the sunrise as your claimed due east, how do you know that your south is antipode to north when you can't see north and your compass is telling you something different? You're relying on the sun coming up, right?
That's when I need other people. That's when I need other people to help me confirm it.
But how are they going to do it? Because they can't see you.
Well, we'll just get people from the southern hemisphere and all look at the south celestial pole, and we can all see it's there. And then you guys do the same up north.
Yeah, but the problem you've got is other people looking south are not seeing the rotation point south.
Well, it's sort of something you have to just believe in, I guess. It's just a bit
Yeah.
magical. Like
So that doesn't prove then, does it? That
Sorry,
doesn't
do you wanna
prove your
repeat that,
point
mate,
was
for?
the lights in
Do
the
you wanna
sky
repeat-
prove
Hold
globe.
on, Anthony. Hold on.
Yeah?
Do you want to repeat that, mate, for?
It's just something you have to trust in and believe in.
No, believe. You said believe. But your original assertion was that the lights in the sky prove globe. But
They
you've
do.
just admitted that you believe it.
Yep, I do, because I did the
Right,
research.
so they don't prove it then, do they?
Well, so anyway, how do you get all the celestial poles?
Hand wave
Oh,
dismissal.
free question time. Obliteration of his point, followed by an admission that he's just got a belief in this shit. Followed by new question time. No, let's revel in the fact that you just believe this rubbish.
We'll just deny some stuff then. How
No,
do you explain
nobody's
eclipses
denying.
again?
No,
Lunar
mate, four.
eclipse?
Let's
Lunar
mate, four. You're just
celestial pole on
believing
multiple
this.
continents.
No. Nobody's denying.
Sunrise, sunset, and
You can
azimuth.
talk. You're doing a rumpus, you see.
all
is
these
like,
things that you can't
This is like
explain.
Rumpus's technique, isn't it, mate? Four. We've got to the
Pulling
conclusion, and you
people
don't
in.
like
Just trying to
it.
pull
It's
people
against
in
your religious
with
belief,
the
isn't it,
crap.
mate? Four. That's why you're rumpusing me. It's pretty pathetic.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, like a 3-year-old that doesn't know when it's turn to speak is.
Because you're just
So you
pushing
just
crap, and I
you
was
just
stuck in the crap
have
for 3 years.
admitted.
I was stuck in it
You've
for
just
3
admitted
years.
it, mate. Four. Don't get angry about it. You just have a belief in this shit.
It doesn't matter. It's real.
Yeah, it does. It matters. It matters to us because you come here with your religious assertions, your belief.
No, it matters.
Not no, yes. That's what we dragged you through kicking and screaming and got you to admit. Yes. Not no, yes. You have a religious belief in this stuff.
So?
So, we're more interested in reality than belief, you complete muppet.
Reality.
Yeah, reality. Not belief. Not assuming R
four.
and bending the world to meet your religion. Reality.
I can now calculate R myself, actually. I learned how to do it myself.
Really? Make four. Do you have a
Yes.
compass?
Even on that,
Make 4, do you have a compass?
Even on the equinox.
Do I have a compass?
Do you have a
Why?
compass, yes or no?
Why do you want to keep going back to this and try and trip me up with some like declination crap?
Well, because your assertion was that the lights in the sky prove globe.
And yeah, well, what do they
Do
prove
me a
for
favour.
you? You
Do me
live
a
on
favour.
flat
No,
plane, or-
no. That's called the burden of proof reversal. Don't ask what they prove for us. They don't prove anything for us. We don't know what they are. Your
You ignore
assertion
them,
is they
that's
prove
why.
globe. Don't rumpus me. Just accept the arse beating you're getting.
No. I was a flatty for 3 years.
Nobody cares
No, you
about
weren't.
your position.
You
Oh,
were
when
always
you were
on the
back
fence.
there being a flatty. Now you're a religious zealot.
Well, because
Mate,
I
do-
don't like
do me a
people
favour, mate,
confusing
Paul.
other people. You're just confusing
Make 4,
other
do me a
people.
favour. I want you to go outside into your back garden. I want you to look south, and I want you to get your compass on the table, and I want you to put a mark on the fence that denotes south according to your compass. Then I want you to show me where the rotation point is relative to that mark on the wall that you write. And it'll be 12.9 degrees, I think it was. And then you can tell me how that makes sense for you, because you've got that problem that your compass is telling you that you're looking south, but your rotation point is 12.9 degrees off south. And I want you to come back to me and tell me why. Because when you actually do the experiment real world and you realize that it's not actually south, it then all of a sudden makes perfect sense that, hey, maybe we do live on a flat plane and they're telling me that my compass is out and I've got to declinate, but actually we live on a flat plane and south's not south after all.
But we don't live on a flat plane. Shadow.
Well, you
That's
can
just a
test it.
bullshit assertion.
You can test it.
Sorry, Anthony. I just want to add one more thing. When you're marking out north and south on your table based on what your compass says, just let me know. I think you'll know the answer now, but just let me know if south or north is below your arse.
You guys aren't smart.
Sorry, what's the answer to my question then? Will south or north, when you mark it out based on what the compass points to, will it be below you?
Look at the people that follow you. They're just like
Just answer
so
my
silly.
question. This is an ad hominem attack. Now you're attacking the
so
audience.
silly.
Bum
was
move,
lost
my
as well.
friend. Bum move. I wouldn't attack the audience.
I was just totally lost, like
Yeah,
you
no,
guys.
no, we don't need any more assertions about how you were lost and now you found religion. I don't want to hear it. If you mark out north and south based on what your compass is pointing out, will south or north be under your arse?
I don't really care about what you're saying. You guys are just pushing crap.
Just a simple question about what north and south points to. Does it point under your arse? Yes or no?
Oh.
Take your time.
I've done my study and research now. It's taken me 4 years.
Excellent. So you've done a lot of research and a lot of study, so you should be able to answer a simple question. Does north or south point below your arse?
Sure does.
Really? I've never seen a
Points through
compass
the-
point below my arse. Do you want to show me a compass that points below my arse?
No, I'm just talking crap.
Yeah, I know you're talking crap. It's because the compass doesn't meet your religious belief. You have to assert that that compass is actually pointing down when it's pointing out. That's because you have a religious belief in a sphere world. So you think south is down, don't you? You think north is up. Even though it's pointing out, you think it's up because you're a religious zealot.
Yeah, well, you got a good one there, Nathan. I'll give you that. But you can't explain the South Celestial Pole on multiple continents.
What's
Yeah, we can.
south? Hold on. Is south under your ass?
I'm upside down actually right now in Australia.
So south
here.
is underneath me, even though south on a compass isn't pointing down underneath your ass. Why would you assert it? Is it because you have a religious faith in a ball and you're going to assert the south's actually down, even though you say it's a silly and I've got you and all that crap? So south's not down then?
South Celestial Pole on multiple
Sorry,
continents.
we've already ripped this a new one. Hello?
How did you explain it?
Declination. You're not pointing south when you look at what you assert is an antipodal star rotation. Can't you keep up? Just a laugh, right? Yeah, that little short, concise explanation was the explanation of the devastation of your argument, mate 4. And all you've got to do as a response is laugh. What a pathetic person. Yeah? That's all you got? A laugh? Yet your argument was ripped to pieces.
Oh dear, Nathan. Look what you're putting people through.
Oh, here we go again. So you're going to start attacking the audience now. Yeah, no need. Just
Could I
because
ask
you've been
him a question,
humiliated,
Nathan?
don't attack my audience.
Don't attack your audience
Could I
or
ask
all
him
your
a question,
sheep.
Nathan?
Don't
Go
know
ahead.
how to do Eratosthenes experiment properly or look
Yeah,
into it.
we're going to double back to this now. Or we ripped this a new one yesterday, so you're going to piss this back in our face as well, are you?
Well, how do you think 23 sticks
No.
around the
We
globe
ripped this
don't
apart
prove it?
yesterday. Why are you now ripping it back in our faces? Why?
Because you guys just deny it. You
Sorry,
think it
we didn't
doesn't
deny
work,
it.
but it does.
We ripped it a new one, mate, for. Weren't you paying attention? When I just gave you a concise explanation of how I ripped today's nonsense apart, you laughed.
Because you guys just deny stuff. It's
No,
just like,
it's
oh,
not us denying. You're
you don't know where north is. The compass points off
You're
into the space. It must be
believer.
wrong.
We're not assuming anything. You've come with assertions, and we've pointed out, and you've admitted that you just believe. We're not assuming or denying. You're believing, okay?
Trust in some research that other people have done
trust
as
in
well. That's
research.
we have
What
to do.
research?
If you look at the mapped geomagnetic lines, there's actually 2 north poles, major ones, and 2 south poles. There isn't like the simplified ball with a north and a south on top, like a pole magnet like that. That's not how it works.
I know
It's
that.
actually 2
I'd like
north.
to ask him a question.
Go ahead.
Do you have a problem with freedom
Hold on,
of
mate,
speech?
four. Someone's got a question for you. Go ahead.
Do you have a problem with freedom of speech?
I do when it just pushes lies onto people and makes people confused.
So why is it you're a baller then?
Well, that's what freedom of speech is. That even when you disagree with something,
Okay, well, I'm here to tell
you
people
have
not
to defend
believe
it.
in
If you're a
lies.
believer,
Don't just deny like a south celestial pole on multiple continents and sunrise, sunset, azimuth.
Yeah, it's not
which
south
prove-
though, is it? You're calling it a south celestial.
Said it's
But
not
it
south.
still means the sun is wobbling. How is your sun wobbling?
cares what the
and
sun's
that?
doing?
So that's called an obfuscation tactic. So you really have become a proper baller, haven't you, Muppet? You have your argument dismantled and then you laugh. Then you circle jerk to the argument that we dismantled yesterday. Now you bring up a new argument. Wow, Make 4. Have you been to Globe Head Training Camp?
How do you explain people all over the earth?
Now you're asking me a question. My question to you was, why have you pissed back in our faces what we ripped apart yesterday, laughed when we ripped it apart today, and now you're bringing up a new argument rather than acknowledging anything we've said? You call us
You obviously don't
deniers.
understand it.
Even
You
in the
don't
face
understand
of admitting you believe this stuff, you call
You're being
us
dumb.
deniers. So have you been to
being
Globe
dumb.
Head Training Camp?
Sure have. You're being dumb.
How is it being dumb to point out that what you believe is a southern rotation point isn't actually a southern rotation point?
Well, how do you explain the sun wobbling on a flat Earth?
That's no. Answer my point. How is it being dumb when we point out that what
No.
you believe to be
I'm
a
in
southern
denial mode
rotation
like you
point
now.
is not the
I'll
same
just-
for everybody? Why is that
How
mean
is it
being
done
dumb?
with multiple actual poles?
Sorry? Multiple poles. You got
what
two
are you
poles.
referring?
Close enough, isn't it? It's close enough if you just have a look down there, like somewhere in that area, and everyone sees it in the south for some reason, but we
They're
just
not in the
deny
south,
it.
though, are they? We've established that.
Yeah, he just ignores it.
It's close enough.
When we
What,
really
11
give it in,
degrees?
when we
11
give it in
degrees.
concisely, Anthony, he laughs. When it's given to him really concisely, then he just asserts it again. So he doesn't acknowledge that his argument's been taken to pieces. He laughs, then he reasserts it. Why, Make 4?
He's a troll.
No, you guys deny the most simple things.
Now we're being called deniers, so that's another obfuscation tactic. Why?
What, 11 degrees off? My south is 11 degrees off, but, you know,
Yeah, but
somehow
ask,
we just
ask
all
me
see
what the
same
declination
stars.
value is for, say, Argentina.
What's the declination for Argentina, Anthony?
Another 11 degrees, Nathan.
Really? Not south, then?
Not south.
Oh.
So we have a problem here, don't we?
Well, they're pretty far away, those stars.
They are pretty far away, and 11 degrees, if they're really far away, is a problem because they're not south. They're not antipode to north. Why?
That another laugh?
I had my stellar yardstick out there, and they're really, 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 really far. I'm still retracting my stellar yardstick this morning, but we'll know exactly how far they are.
There's a point just southeast of the tip of South America on the coast of Antarctica where the declination is 180 degrees.
Oh, really?
180 degrees. Yes.
How's that possible for an 180 degrees declination thing if you're at the South Pole? Wouldn't that mean that your compass is actually pointing north?
It's on the coast of Antarctica.
Wouldn't that mean that you're
That's
actually
insane.
pointing north when you're supposed to be in the south?
Exactly. Exactly.
That
If
would
your
be
compass
consistent.
is pointing
That
south,
would be consistent
that means you're
only
really
if,
going north.
if it went around the edge.
It's the giggle point in Antarctica. You get there, you giggle because you're at 180 degrees at 0 point, and yeah, that's where it is. And you giggle when you express where it is and what it does.
So anyway, how does your sun wobble on a flat Earth again?
Because
Yet again,
your
another
point about the
obfuscation
lights in the
technique.
sky proving globe is nonsense, make for.
No, it's
Don't know
it's
why
not
you believe
actually.
it.
So what are the lights in the sky to you?
Because
Just
what they are.
Being at 180 degrees inclination
we don't
point,
need
it
it.
must hit your G zone or something with that little giggle and girly.
Can I point something out,
I want to
Nathan?
go there.
Could I say something, Nathan? That this is a troll, just like Rumpus. He's basically dominating the show and taking up time that would otherwise be spent being productive in a discussion.
Yeah, but on the other hand,
Yeah.
I disagree. Apart, and that is productive.
So yeah, how do I navigate? How do I navigate?
I
on a
understand
flat
the
plane?
entertaining.
Yeah, I'm trying to like show people that the flat Earth is just a dumb belief. Like it's because I was stuck
So
there
show,
for 3
if
years.
it's a dumb belief, then show us how you can have
How do you
an
navigate on a
antipode
ball?
south rotation point, and it's not actually south.
He's
Show
already
us that.
conceded. He has to believe it.
Right.
Wait,
so it's not that dumb then, is it?
So he's the only one that's conceded a belief here, and he's accusing us of that. Yet another baller technique. So you just become a globe head, mate. You haven't changed faith. You've just gained a faith in the globe, which you're asserting here like a zealot, and expecting us to just accept your faith in this crap.
No, not really. I'm just asking you questions. Like, can you tell me how an eclipse works?
Sorry, you just
No, you're
said
not
a
asking
moment ago
questions.
that you were
came
here
on and
to
said
point
that
out
the
that
lights
we
in the
were.
sky prove globe.
You said you were here to point out that our belief was wrong, and all you've done is assert your beliefs and then ask questions.
Lunar eclipse?
So this is a new
South
subject change.
rotation point.
You still haven't. You just laughed when we went through your assertion, and at the end of it, rather than saying "yeah, you're right," it doesn't prove antipodal star rotation. You laugh.
So, how do you navigate in the south?
That's a question.
hemisphere
I'm
area?
expecting a concession. Yes, that's right. It doesn't prove my assertion, but you won't. So that's why I'm keeping the show open, mate. Just to show what a piece of crap you are. How many times will it take before you can? Oh, is that another bit of laughter?
I was stuck in flat Earth just like you guys.
No.
It's great
We're not
to be out.
interested in your religious journey to globedom.
Yeah.
We're not interested in your religious journey. We're interested
Break
in the
the chain.
specific.
Break
No,
those
don't
chains.
rumpus me. We're interested in the specific assertion that you made. Southern rotation, antipode to northern rotation. We've taken it apart, and every time we do, and we give it like now, you either rumpus, talk over, or laugh. You haven't conceded.
Fucking hilarious, Nathan. It's a joke.
But what's hilarious? I don't understand.
It's totally wrong. You're going against like thousands and thousands of scientists.
No. Again, different obfuscation technique now is appealing to authority and consensus. We're talking about your example of star rotation. How many times have we got to take it apart? Why won't you concede this?
So how does your sun wobble again,
No.
Nathan?
What? Repeat after me. Antipodal star rotation. Say those words.
Antipodal star rotation
Does
proves a
not
flat Earth.
prove we are on a sphere.
Does not prove we are on a sphere. Now I'm
Why
really
did you
getting
assert
good
it
at this
then?
brainwash.
Why did you bring it up and assert it then?
Actually, Nathan, let me just correct you a little bit. Antipodal star rotations would prove we're on a sphere. but they can't prove that they're antipodal. I just wanted to correct that slightly because I didn't want someone to hit you up.
fair enough.
How do you know it connects to north? How? Oh my god.
That's your assertion.
How do you know that it connects to north?
That's your assertion.
How many years are we going to go through like this? This is just
Until you give us an
ridiculous.
answer.
I'm glad.
You don't have any proof
You
for
said-
a ball, do you?
Well, we have mapped a fair few constellations, so I don't know. Maybe
cares?
that helps.
Who cares? Yeah.
I think it'll last as long as it takes to bury the last unicorn.
So how does your sun wobble again with the sunrise, sunset, azimuth?
Who cares?
Moving. Who cares?
cares?
Stars don't mean anything. Sky
Sorry,
doesn't
we
mean
didn't
anything.
make any assertions about the sun, you stupid idiot.
How do you explain a lunar
No.
eclipse?
What's your claim? Don't ask us how we explain something. What's your claim here?
Well, it's southeast, southwest for me in summer, and that just shows me that I'm on a spinning tilted globe. It's pretty
Really?
easy.
So I'll ask my question from earlier.
Why don't the stars change?
So
their
hold on,
parallel?
Jimbo. Hold on. So south points down on your compass, does it? Muppet, idiot, thicko. Don't laugh. Give me an answer. Nobody talk. Nobody talk. Does south point down, Muppet, idiot, retard?
It points into space.
Does it point down?
Points into space.
Sorry, we're talking about stars and where they are in relation to you. You think south is down based on your religious belief. So now we're talking about terms. South. Does it or does it not point down? If it doesn't, it's because of your religious belief in a ball that makes you think south is down.
Religion. I had it all wrong. How do I navigate in the southern hemisphere
That's
again?
a question. You still haven't
getting
given me an
around.
answer. How many times will you
Bearings.
obfuscate my question? Does south point down?
Yes, Nathan. Down to the pole.
Show me. Show me where south on a compass points down.
Down to the pole.
Are you just being silly? Are you going to show me
Down
a
to the
compass
pole.
that points outwards, going down?
Oh, dearie me. It's good to be out of it, though.
So is this not... You going to obfuscate it completely, or are you going to give me an answer?
Who cares? Can I say...
I care, because your terminology is south. Now we're qualifying these terms, you complete idiot. My question, does south point down, i.e. towards your ass, towards your feet, doesn't get answered, because it devastates your assertion, your religious belief, that south is down on a ball.
I don't need a compass to look at the sun or the stars.
No, you can just
but
look
you
at
do
them and
need to point
believe.
south, don't you?
You can just look at them and decide that that's south on a ball, can't you?
Pretty much, because
Yeah, pretty much. You can just have a religious faith about it, you complete muppet.
No. Well,
Yeah, you look at them and decide that you're south on a ball. No references, just your religious assertion. You idiot.
So, how do you know?
Here we go. Laugh, laugh, laugh. Question for me. Yeah, your assertion about south on a ball has been qualified. South on a compass isn't pointing down on a ball. You idiot. Isn't it funny when your point gets demolished?
Wobbling sun. Eclipse.
Here we go. Now we're on to wobbling sun. So we're off south. Well, how many times before we get a concession on this one, globehead retard?
I'm waiting for you to explain it.
I'm waiting for you to concede that south isn't down. Oh, you're just laughing at me again? Yeah, this is your point being demolished. This is you being humiliated with your religious assertion that somewhere that points outwards is actually below your ass. Because you're a religious zealot with a belief in a ball and space.
Who cares?
Who cares, man? My point's been ripped to pieces, man. Who cares? Let's move past this devastating point. Who cares that he's demolished
How do
me?
you explain-
Yeah,
how do you
I
explain-
care, and the audience cares, because they've seen your point get ripped to shreds. You don't care. You want us to move past, but I'll just call you a retard. South isn't below your ass, retard.
Oh, Nathan.
Yeah, south isn't below your ass, you retard.
Isn't it?
No.
I thought it was. The compass was
Yeah, you had a religious belief. The compass pointed outwards, but I decided that was down. Because I've got a religious belief in a ball. Yeah, I know. You're a religious zealot. You think south's down because you believe in a ball. You're a religious zealot with your beliefs telling us about what stars do based on your assumption that south is down. What a moron. Hey, let's laugh about my point being wrecked. Yeah, laugh it up,
laughing at
dickhead.
the chat as well.
Laugh it up.
Laughing at the chat a little bit.
Laugh it up.
How does your
Don't ask me a question.
I want to know.
Don't ask
The
me a
wobbling
question.
sun.
You still haven't answered south being down. Why do
How do
you
you explain an
assume that
eclipse,
south
Nathan?
is down?
You can't even explain an eclipse, bro.
No, we're not talking about. We're talking about south and why
can
you,
you?
the
But
religious zealot
I
in
don't
this
care about
conversation,
silly little
wants
south pointing
us
to my arse,
to believe that south is below our arses.
It's good water.
Wow, great answer. So basically, I'll answer for you. South is down to you because you have a religious belief in a ball.
Selenian eclipse, Nathan.
Yeah, we're not talking about eclipses. We're talking about where south is, like the entire show.
You can't explain an eclipse. That's
no,
why.
don't tell me what I can't explain. I'm not making an assertion about that.
I'm getting torn on you, and have I no shame? I can't tell north, south, east, west.
We know.
Nathan, just kick him out.
I don't
Kick
mind.
me out because you can't explain. You're wobbling.
I don't
son.
mind him basically being like this. So it points out to the audience every time he laughs about it that he's got nothing. Nothing at all.
You've got nothing. There's so many scientists that have been doing this for years.
Another appeal to authority. Wow, the demolition never ends. Another appeal
think
to
the world's
maybe
against
appeal
you.
to consensus. Tell me that everybody knows it. Go on.
You think everyone's against you, Nathan? The whole
He did. I literally asked him to do it, and he literally appealed to consensus immediately. Wow, you really are obedient, aren't you? Good dog.
I'm a good dog.
You are a good dog. Well done, good dog. Go in peace. In R you trust.
R I trust.
Yes, that's correct. In R you trust, you globehead zealot retard.
I measured R. I calculated R myself. It was good.
Sorry, you said you measured it and then
can't
you
even count
calculated
to
it in the
5.
next breath. Clearly, you are a retard. I don't know why you're here other than to troll and demonstrate to the audience what globe fever does to people.
Oh, what flat will make you so dumb. Seriously, don't go flat, guys.
Excellent rebuttal.
Flat will just do some real research. Trust in the real scientists. Don't trust in Nathan.
Trust in R, like make
Trust
4.
in R, because you can actually measure it. If you just look into it, you'll figure out how to do it.
Yeah, to kind of depend. If you look into it, that you have a problem. Are you aware what the contradiction is in your claim?
What is it? Parallel rays?
No, you said that you can measure it. So let's just be concise. Let's be clear. What is it you can measure?
Okay. You can measure the radius, the circumference, the angle of that, all
Right.
of the angles there. You
So
can
talk me
measure
through
the
that. How are you
distance
going to
to
do
the
it?
sun
You
almost
said you've
with
done
that.
this.
Huh?
You said you've done this. So talk me through it.
Sticks in the ground. Pretty simple.
So talk me through it. What did you do to measure it?
He didn't. We
Well,
went
then-
through this the first time he was on it. He assumes R. Rumpus had to come
Well,
and
you
bail him out. I've even clipped out that little section and played it back
You
at
can get-
nausea. Hello?
Okay.
You assume R, you retard.
How about I prove a really
Hello?
large and
Sticks
distant...
in the ground,
Oh,
you
God.
said. No,
Sticks in
that requires an assumption. You obviously have to assume it. Someone smarter than you, Rumpus, even admitted it. I played it back at nausea.
I know I'm a little bit dumb. I don't care. I'm dumb.
Yeah, you're assuming R. Hello? You can't
He
measure
said he doesn't
it.
care. He's dumb.
Yeah, he is
That's
dumb.
it, that's him admitting, Nathan. He's over. He's
Hey,
done.
you guys had me stuck in flat Earth, and I had to actually do.
No, you're now stuck in a religion where you assume R, you muppet.
So you measure the distance, you get your angle.
No, you don't. You assume R. We've gone through it. Stop reasserting it. Stop pissing it in our faces.
Well, hang on. Let's go through it again, Nathan, because he might not be aware. So you
God,
measure
'cause
your
he's-
angle.
What? We
else
took a
do you do?
whole show over it with him.
No.
What else do you do, mate?
There's no point. There's no point really, because you guys just deny.
Yeah, there is.
everything.
There's a lot of
"Oh,
point.
You're using Google Earth to measure that distance. It's already a presupposed R.
You said you can measure the angle, so you measure the angle. What else do you do?
Of the shadow, and then you get the inside the Earth angle. If
So
that makes
you've
sense.
got two angles.
Sorry, did you say we get the inside of the Earth angle?
Yes, from the two sticks.
So you already know you're on a sphere then, don't you? So you've already got a sphere value. That would be R. And you're adding R. You complete idiot. We've taken this apart so many times. When we get you to qualify it, you immediately disclose that you're going to be presupposing R.
Do you know?
Oh, yeah, you're a moron. You don't deserve to be here, moron.
Okay, it's like me saying hemisphere. Oh, a sphere?
That's correct. Using the word hemisphere presumes you're on a sphere, you absolute idiot. That's correct.
Anyway, you just get
Not
those angles
anyway.
and then divide it
No,
into
not
360,
anyway. This
you'll
is
see it
again
work.
the devastation of your argument. Preceded by you saying, "Oh, anyway, let's not devastate." Yeah, we're gonna devastate your argument. You
You
assume
deny the
R.
most famous people.
I already
You deny the
told
most
you,
famous
dickhead.
people. You think
Go
they're
in
famous for no
peace.
reason.
Go in peace. In R, you trust, religious zealot.
Okay, you just deny the most famous.
Not denying, you're assuming.
When are you going to kick me? All your little friends that don't know how to look into things properly want you to kick me.
Who cares? I'm humiliating you based on your religious
No, you're
belief.
not.
I'm enjoying
You're not really.
destroying you.
No.
It's fun.
No, you're not.
Yeah, I am.
You still can't explain the clips, but
Right, we're on to a different subject. So it was sticks in the ground.
Jack Ryan wants to know
Sorry,
if you
sticks in the
navigate
ground,
to
you
South
say.
America from Africa
Hello?
or Oz.
Hello? Sticks
What?
in the ground, you say.
Sticks in the ground, yeah. Measure the distance between them, get the angles of the shadows and the sun, and then you get the angles down into the middle of Earth, and then you divide.
So you've already got the middle of an Earth. You've already got a presumption of a spherical Earth, you complete idiot.
See, guys? You see how he just goes off? Oh, it must.
Yeah, because you've told the audience that you're measuring shadows based on what you see when you stick sticks in the ground, and then you add a radius value.
Oh, look at your audience. So, why do you think the
again,
Earth is
an
rotating?
attack on the audience, not a concession that he's telling us that he's having to assume a radius when he's supposed to be measuring a radius. He already knows the radius. He's going to add it into the mathematics. But he won't
I don't think
concede
you
that
understand
that's a
it. I don't think you
presupposition.
actually-
It's
you
a
don't
begging the
underst-
question fallacy. He'll just rumpus me at the crescendo like he's just done. Like Rumpus would
You
do.
don't understand it. You
Yeah,
actually.
I'll just shut you up. Mute button time. Right, dickhead. Mute button. Okay, asshole. I will point out that you've just told the audience that you are going to be presupposing a sphere and adding it to the mathematics. Therein lies the problem. You are assuming automatically that you're on a sphere. You already have your outcome. That is called begging the question. A logical fallacy. You're just too stupid to realise.
Okay, fair enough.
Not
fair
okay.
enough.
That's the
Okay,
problem.
but-
It's not the solution. It's not okay. It's the problem with you, a retard.
Okay, you're right.
Not okay. You're a retard. We're having to drill it into you slowly for the entertainment of 200 people.
No.
Yeah, you laugh it up.
Wait up.
Not waiting.
So how do you
telling you a retard. You keep telling us that when you stick your sticks in the ground, you're going to automatically presume a sphere anyway.
Can I ask you something real quick? What does the sticks in the ground experiment tell me?
It's not an
if
experiment.
I-
Stop. Not an experiment. It does not have an observed phenomena. It does not have a dependent variable. It is not a formulated hypothesis. It is not backed by systematic experimentation. It is not an experiment.
Yeah, that's why I said it like experiment.
Yeah,
That's
it's
why
not.
I said
That's why I stopped and interrupted, and I've got to do it again because you're circle jerking the audience. Not an experiment.
Oh dear.
All right. What does the stick in the ground thing say if I assume we are on a flat Earth? What does it say about the sun?
the sun's
and
a
what
lot
does it say
closer.
about everything? Because
Okay,
I want to know
The
it
sun's
from
a lot
this
closer.
point.
No, well, let's assume we're on a plane, a flat plane. You put all your sticks in the ground across the flat plane, and then you'll see that those shadows from the sun don't meet a point in the sky.
Yeah,
they
that's
don't meet a
because
point
we
in the
don't know
sky.
that the sun's a physical object, dude. What is the sun? You can't prove what it
Oh
is.
my God, that's all you've got. That's all you've got.
Yeah, it's kind of
that's the
important if
problem.
you're measuring it and making claims based on it.
Well, all of those angles to the sun will be off. They won't match on a flat plane. And as soon as you turn it into the
because
globe that it is,
the sun isn't a tangible object the way you tell it us.
you're just denying everything. It's all you can do. You can't even explain
we're
the
asking for
eclipse still.
proof,
How do
mate.
you explain the eclipse
Have
again?
you?
About the sun, I still don't get this because if it's not really a physical object, where does the heat come from when I'm standing on the ground?
Who
Because I
cares?
feel
We
like
don't have to prove what it is. We're just saying that there's a problem with what we're told is what it is, what they tell us it is.
Yeah. And with that, I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. If you hated the show, you know exactly what to do. You've probably done it already. But if you liked it, maybe consider sharing it with a friend. Or subscribing if you've not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!